Welcome to the house that Bud built.
Where Barry made his mark.
Where Bob continues to roll.
Welcome to the home where Superman lives. "142 All-Americans.
"47-game winning streak.
40 conference titles.
Count them. 7 national championships. There's only one.
Only one.
One Oklahoma.
This is Oklahoma football.
Don Williams said best, we are living on Tulsa time at about 8 o'clock Eastern. Malcolm Kelly lighting it up for the Sooners, the recipient of some nice Sam Bradford footballs.
So far this season, the Sooners have dominated their opponents. But tonight, they take on in-state rival Tulsa, armed with the 4th best offense in the country. Welcome everyone to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is a home game for the Golden Hurricane, but their blue-clad fans occupy only about half of sold-out H.A. Chapman Stadium. The Sooners well represented in the stands as well as they try to continue a very impressive start to this season. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to college football prime time on this warm Friday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sean McDonough along with Chris Spielman, delighted to have you with us as we get a look at the team that has been perhaps the most impressive in the country so far this season. Oklahoma not only 3-0, but they are outscoring their opponents by an average of 61-8 during that time. And Chris, when they started the year, the one big question was the unknown at quarterback, the redshirt freshman Sam Bradford. He's already answered a lot of the questions.
Sam Bradford won the competition how he wanted. He has great skilled players around him at wide receiver and running back. And during training camp, those guys made Sam Bradford better. Now, as the season started, the light went on for Sam. Now he's making their explosive players even more explosive. He's a fun player to watch, completing the 80% of his passes, Sean.
It's astounding. He's 3rd in the country in pass efficiency. His opposite number tonight, perhaps one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country, and the senior Paul Smith. He's 5th in the country so far in pass efficiency for the 2-0 Golden Hurricane.
Yeah, Paul Smith is a fiery competitor. Paul told us yesterday that during the first 2 games, he's had early interceptions. After those early interceptions, he's caught on fire. Paul can't afford any interceptions tonight if Tulsa wants to score points against his tough Oklahoma defense.
So we have 2 quarterbacks each having a great start to the season, and tonight we'll get a look at arguably the best receiver in the country, Malcolm Kelly. 14 catches through 3 games, 7 of them for touchdowns. The opening kickoff from Tulsa right after this.
3-0.
ESPN2 Friday night college football is broadcast in high definition and presented by Pioneer Curo HD TV. A lot to talk about tonight. Bob Davie will join us here in the booth. Lou Holtz via the miracle of satellite. We'll talk about the problems for the Irish. Making a case for number 1, which has been the best team so far, who should be number 1. And as always, we'll preview tomorrow's top games. But first, we check in down on the field with Joe Shad.
Tulsa quarterback Paul Smith would have loved to have played for a program like Oklahoma or Oklahoma State.
a little too small, arm not strong enough. And so even though he's one of Oklahoma's all-time schoolboy passing leaders, not a scholarship available. Oklahoma coach Bob Stoops told me you can't recruit every player. Paul Smith admitted his feelings were hurt then. He has a chance tonight to hurt Oklahoma Sooners fans' feelings.
He has been terrific helping to rebuild this Tulsa program. Tulsa won the toss and deferred, so Oklahoma will receive. One of the most dangerous kickoff men in the country, back deep, Reggie Smith. Oklahoma is 8th in the nation in kickoff returns, averaging 29 as a team per return, and Tulsa's had trouble with their kickoff. They used 3 different kickers to kick off last week against BYU. They'll start tonight with Jerry. And this in-state rival is underway. Joaquin Iglesias. Across the 30 and out at the 32. Let's meet the Oklahoma offense, introduced by 2003 Heisman Trophy winner Jason White.
The Sooner offense starts with quarterback Sam Bradford. He's completing nearly 80% of his passes and broke my consecutive completions record 2 times. The receivers are big and fast. I would have loved to throw to Malcolm Kelly. The line is huge, averaging more than 320 pounds. It's the biggest in school history. Those guys are Sam's best friends.
And they average 6'5", 322 pounds. Todd Graham, the Tulsa coach, thinks they're the best offensive line in the country. Bradford opens out of the shotgun with a lot of time behind that line, and he's right on target to Malcolm Kelly to the 49-yard line of the Golden Hurricane. Their defense, introduced by Tulsa Hall of Famer Dennis Byrd.
Brandon Jones and Moten Hopkins do a wonderful job as a tag team duo anchoring the defensive line. Nelson Coleman and Chris Chamberlain are the heart and soul of this Tulsa defense. Don't be surprised if you see Chamberlain on offense. He's already scored a touchdown. And carrying the big stick for the Tulsa secondary is Anthony Germany and Stephen Craver.
The defense that gave up 694 yards last week in a win over BYU, 55-47. Alan Patrick rips through, so after an 18-yard completion to Malcolm Kelly, 14 on the run for this balanced Oklahoma attack. Randy Duncan made the tackle.
We see the big offensive line there getting pushed on the linebackers. They're changing the line of scrimmage, and Tulsa's coming out in that old 3-3-5. They're fine on the flanks, but there's a lot of bubbles at that line of scrimmage. Look for Oklahoma to attack them right up the gut.
Patrick comes into tonight averaging nearly 11 yards per carry on 15 rushes, 10.7 to be precise. He's tackled here by Charles Davis after a gain of 4. Oklahoma's offense averaging 61.3 points per game, #1 in the country. They're 3rd in total offense at 565 yards per game for Bob Stoops in his 9th year as head coach.
Here's Tulsa's defense. You understand with this powerful offense, they're going to move the football. This is where you have to stiffen up as they approach the red zone.
Well, they are balanced. This is DeMarco Murray, the talented freshman. Short of the first down to the Tulsa 28-yard line. Alan Karatapian made the tackle, and then he came off the field with an injury and equipment problem.
He's tapping his head. It must be the helmet problem where he got a shot to the noodle.
Mike Bryan takes his place. Bryan, the son of a former Oklahoma All-American, Rick Bryan, who played for the Atlanta Falcons. 3rd down and 2. They keep it on the ground with Murray. First down. And he powers all the way down to the 5-yard line, dragging Tulsa defenders, most notably Randy Duncan with him, Roy Robertson to help. That's a 23-yard gain. This is the 4th game of the season for Oklahoma. This is their 20th play of 20 yards or more.
One of the things about running backs is which makes them good, and you don't usually see it from a young freshman, is their vision. Right there, DeMarco Murray starts left and understanding the weakness of the defense with all the bubbles in the 3-3-5, hits the cutback hole. And interesting enough, Sean, I saw 3 Tulsa defenders on their back. That shows you the dominance that is possible with this big, huge Oklahoma offensive line.
If there's any question about whether or not the Oklahoma team would be ready to play their first road game of the year after rolling over their first 3 opponents, I think that question has been answered. You can see the intensity on their team, and particularly in head coach Bob Stoops. These Oklahoma seniors have had an up and down ride early in their careers, playing for national championships. That 2005 season, the first since 1999, when they did not have double digits in wins. And then, of course, last year, the quarterback situation, Rick Bomar dismissed, Paul Thompson thrown into the mix. And I think given all that, they had a very good year, going 10-3, winning the Big 12, going to the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, but it ended on a bad note. And Coach Stoops doesn't like to talk about that much, but it still ended on a bad note. But they built off of that loss against Boise.
First and goal, Chris Brown in at tailback, part of that 3-man rotation. And he gets driven down at the line of scrimmage by Nelson Coleman, their best defender, on his way to leading the Golden Hurricane in tackles for the 3rd year in a row.
And that time they did a good job. The defensive line of Tulsa didn't get pushed back, and they were able to create penetration, causing the offensive linemen.
Offense. The down counts. It's a 15-yard penalty. 2nd down.
There's a Big 12 officiating crew. Oklahoma from the Big 12. Tulsa plays in Conference USA. So that's a big penalty. The down counts. The play went for no gain. It'll be 2nd and goal from just outside the 20.
And if I'm Tulsa, my ears are up, and I'm looking at number 4, Malcolm Kelly, who's lined up top up there. He's a guy that can make plays. Big, tall receiver in the red zone.
On the ground, it's given to Brown. He's more of a north-south runner among the 3 running backs. We'll see Patrick Brown and Murray, as we have already. And offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson says it really doesn't matter. They're so similar. Any of them can be in the game at any time. They don't necessarily put them in according to what play or formation they want to be in. A 4-yard gain there for Brown, a sophomore from Alexandria, Louisiana.
You know, the college football and it imitates pro football. You see the 2-back system in the NFL. In college, you're seeing more of the 2- and 3-back system. Keep guys fresh.
3 wide receivers all to the right of Bradford on 3rd down and goal. He throws short and it is intercepted. Roy Roberts brings it back to the 37-yard line. And looks like he pulled a hamstring in the process.
That's a tough loss for them. If he's their best cover corner, he was going to match up with Malcolm Kelly. Roberts 1, Bradford 0. Bradford looked at Kelly the whole way. He's going to run a little hitch route right here. Roberts jumps it because he's reading the quarterback's eyes. He's not even looking at Kelly. He's reading the quarterback's eyes and does a good job of going up and finishing. Now, if Sam would have been a little bit more patient, he had Manuel Johnson running to the back corner of the end zone. He had 6 points, but he made up his mind before the ball was snapped. A young quarterback mistake right there.
And just the 2nd interception thrown by Bradford this year as compared to 11 touchdown passes. But the big story for Tulsa, the injury to Roy Roberts. As Chris said, the plan was for him to match up as often as possible tonight with Malcolm Kelly, and that doesn't look good. 6th career interception for the junior from Ardmore, Oklahoma. Last week, he brought one back 49 yards for a touchdown against BYU, his first career touchdown.
See right there, when a guy pulls a hamstring, you know it right away. See, he goes to the back of his leg. Usually you don't see that in the beginning of the game. Guys are usually warmed up, especially those DBs. All those muscles are loosey-goosey, ready to go. He's not loosey-goosey enough.
So now Tulsa on offense, and they've been prolific in their 2 wins over Louisiana Monroe and BYU. And here's one of the skills of Paul Smith. He took a shot in the back from Curtis Lofton after a 3-yard gain. The offense introduced again by Dennis Byrd.
From Wausau, Oklahoma, Paul Smith will lead the offense, one of the nation's finest quarterbacks. Leading a very talented backfield, Terrian Adams, multi-dimensional player, is able to catch the ball out of the backfield, as well as having the speed to stretch the field vertically. And anchoring a very large offensive line is Justin Morsick.
And Smith showing his elusiveness again. Almost to the first down marker, about a yard short. Tackled by Curtis Lofton, their leading tackler. Morrissey, the only returning starter on that offensive line, but they've played well, giving Smith protection. Only T.J. Rubley's thrown for more yards than Paul Smith.
And they will be tested tonight. Oklahoma's going to run 9 deep at him at that defensive line position. Fresh bodies coming at you.
Little quick screen, and it's Trey Johnson. Part of 4 very talented freshman big playmakers on this offense. A gain of 7 and a first down. The Oklahoma defense introduced by Jason White.
The Sooner defense leads the nation in tackles for loss, thanks to the hard work of the guys up front. Middle linebacker Curtis Lofton, in Oklahoma just like me, leads the team in tackles. And the secondary has 2 Thorpe Award candidates, including cornerback Reggie Smith.
Second in the nation in total defense, giving up under 180 yards per game. Terrion Adams on 1st and 10 for the Oklahoma 48, got a yard. Ryan Reynolds, the linebacker, made the tackle. Smith 19-9 in his career as a starter. As Joe Shad told you, is from Oklahoma. Not recruited by OU, despite the fact that he went to their camps. And he said, hey, I was 6'1", 165 pounds coming out of high school. Smith has a man wide open, first down and much more. Jesse Meyer. Inside the 20 to the 19-yard line, where Marcus Walker brought him down.
Makes a complete quarterback is the ability to handle the ball, a la Peyton Manning. Then when you have a guy wide open like that, you throw strikes. And right there, Paul Smith delivered the strike to Meyer. Oklahoma looked a little confused. They had 2 guys covering dirt.
It is a very good Tulsa offense. The handoff to the freshman Charles Clay, breaking tackles, and then perhaps a late hit out of bounds. Ryan Reynolds got him across the boundary, and there was some late polish over there from Austin English. But no flags down. He's out of bounds at the 15. They'll need 6 more on 3rd down.
Again, anytime you have an aggressive defense, any misdirection that you can use. Ooh, that could have been a little late. Just a little. Well, he put a move on Reggie Smith, the All-American, gave him the leg and took it away.
Smith. In the end zone, caught. Touchdown, Tulsa. Jess Meyer again with Wendy Holmes in coverage.
Paul Smith gets away with one right here. He's late on his throw. He missed him late, but he still has the ability and a strong enough arm throwing across his body, delivered on time. Again, confusion in the Sooner secondary.
First touchdown of the season for Meyer. He had only 3 catches combined in their first 2 games. He had 2 key grabs on that touchdown drive. A big change of momentum in the early moments, and Tulsa leads Oklahoma 7-0. Well, Oklahoma took the opening kickoff, marched down to the 5-yard line. Todd Graham, a timely timeout. Oklahoma backed up, turned it over, and Tulsa goes the length of the field, 63 yards. In 7 plays. Bradford interception. Paul Smith a touchdown pass.
A killer penalty too, Sean. 15 yards for personal foul, then a turnover. Tulsa needs those timely penalties and timely turnovers to hang in.
Ricky Drake picks off this time. It is dropped and then picked up by Iglesias, and he won't reach the 15, although there's a flag down, perhaps for a face mask. Coverage team led by Mike Bryan, the son of a former Sooner, all fired up, but might have been a face mask, just a 5-yard return after the bobble by Joaquin Iglesias.
Holding 29 on the
Actually, it's a hold
half the distance to the goal
against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think they got a hold on Joe John. Fine tight end, trying to protect his man. A lot of times you grab from behind to prevent the gang tackling. Tulsa's got energy.
Boy, Oklahoma looked great on that opening drive before the timeout. Then the personal foul penalty. the interception. But now on defense, Tulsa without their best cover corner, Roy Roberts. Trying to deal with the stable of talented wide receivers led by Malcolm Kelly. John Destin is into the ball game to replace Roberts. And on first down, nothing doing. Alan Patrick wrapped up by Brandon Jones. There's Destin, a junior from Belgrade, Florida. Junior college transfer from Rock Valley in Illinois. They're high on him, but they were hoping he'd be playing mostly as a backup tonight.
Again, but that limits what they can do as far as man coverage. They felt like Roberts could match up.
From the 4, again, nowhere to run for Patrick. Moten Hopkins, the junior from Converse, Texas, made the stop.
Well, the defensive line woke up. Oklahoma came out and punched him in the mouth. Tulsa's defensive line said enough. Now they're changing the line of scrimmage. It'll be interesting to watch. You look at the massive size of Oklahoma in a pretty hot night tonight and see if that takes a toll.
87 degrees with 50% humidity at kickoff. And a breeze out of the south-southeast at 10 miles per hour. Timeout called by Tulsa. And Todd Graham has already used 2 timeouts. He said when we visited with him yesterday, Coach Graham, I believe we can do it. More importantly, our players believe we can do it. He said the first quarter's a key. If we're in the ball game at the end of the first quarter, I think we'll be in the ball game to stay.
Again, a lot of things have to happen and go. There were timely penalties. We had that, a timely turnover in the red zone. Then they capitalize on that. If they can capitalize on that, Paul Smith's going to make plays. It's not his first rodeo. He knows how to get it done. I just threw that in because we're in Oklahoma.
Yes.
So you understand that.
I did, yes.
So he's a confident kid, and I do believe he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, Sean.
He felt their win last week over BYU here was the biggest of his time here at Tulsa, but obviously a win tonight against Oklahoma would be that much bigger. A lot bigger. 3rd down and 11. Bradford standing on the goal line as he takes the snap under duress. Short over the middle and incomplete. Thrown a little bit behind Joaquin Iglesias. And now the Sooners will have to punt out of their own end zone.
Now this is Bradford looks a little rattled. He's staring down his receivers. 3rd and 11. They throw about a 5-yard route, which would have been tackled short of the sticks. He's got to give his team a chance. He just looks a little bit rattled, and he's playing the defense that has confidence against his team. 2 years ago, they held Oklahoma to 17 points.
Michael Cohen, the former walk-on to punt. Just about at the back line of the end zone. Jay Johnson is back deep for the punt. High kick, but short. And Johnson a fair catch at the 47-yard line. Tulsa begins in plus field position with a 7-0 lead. Take anything that's edible. I'm not sure if smoked bologna is edible, but if it is, you will take it. Tulsa 7-0 lead and beginning this possession in Oklahoma territory at the 47-yard line. Paul Smith. Great elusiveness, then threw it up for grabs and almost intercepted. Broken up by Lendy Holmes.
Roberts right there, the interception, setting up great field position. Paul Smith with the fadeaway to Meyer in the end zone.
The only score of the game. Roberts seemed to injure his hamstring on the play, has not returned. Already seen the elusiveness of Paul Smith. And we spoke with Gus Malzahn, the offensive coordinator. He said that's the quarterback's greatest skill. Nice defensive play by Nick Harris, the free safety. Players continued thinking it might be a lateral, but it was ruled an incomplete forward pass. And it'll be 3rd down and 10.
And Nick Harris with his size at 6'3" went up there with the rejection. A good read by Nick to pull off of his blitz and recognize the quick passing route, getting a big paw in the throwing lane.
A touchdown scored by Tulsa, just the 3rd given up by the Oklahoma defense this year. And this Sooner D has scored 3 touchdowns this year, 1 in each game. They had 2 interception returns for a score and 1 fumble return. The blitz coming. It's dumped off short to the freshman Charles Clay. Where will they mark it? Going to be very close to that yellow line. He was tripped up by Curtis Lofton. He's coming off a career-high 12 tackles last week against Utah State.
I think with the mark there, they have the first down. Charles Clay, an interesting story how he came to Tulsa. One thing I watched him in practice Wednesday, tremendous burst. I don't know if you noticed that. He had a different gear once he got that pigskin in his hands.
It is a first down. Charles Clay was highly recruited from Arkansas out of Little Rock Central. When Todd Graham and his staff got the job late in the recruiting period after Steve Cragthorpe left and went to Louisville, Gus Malzahn, who had coached in Arkansas a long time in high school and last year for the Razorbacks, made contact with Clay but never got his phone call returned about 2 weeks before the signing day. Here's some trickery as they lined up Smith out wide, and now he throws off the flip. And incomplete in the end zone, looking for Jess Meyer. That's kind of textbook Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn said, yeah, I didn't get a call back, and I've known the family and parents for a while and Charles Clay, so I figured he just wasn't interested. 1 hour before the signing deadline, Charles Clay called the Tulsa coaches and said, I'm just calling you back. If you still have that scholarship for me, I'd like to come. He decided he wanted to play in this wide open offense for Gus Malzahn and bypassed Arkansas and Miami, among others.
Just to see the smile on Coach Malzahn's face telling that story. If you're a true freshman, I'm telling you, if you're playing at this level and a high level that he's playing at, he's a special football player.
On 2nd and 10, he's sacked. First sack of the night for Oklahoma. DeMarcus Granger leading the way. It's a defense that has averaged 3.3 sacks per game, 12th in the nation through the first 3 games of the year.
Again, that's what they do. Brett Venables, the defensive coordinator, rolls a lot of guys in. Granger was in the coach's doghouse a little bit, has worked his way out. And when you have fresh bodies with that size and athleticism, it's tough to match up for the smaller, less experienced Tulsa offensive line.
Granger's the cousin of Danny Granger of the Indiana Pacers, the strongest player on their team. He benches nearly 450. Smith throws, and it is juggled and still caught right at the first down line. Boy, it's Jesse Meyer again. And where are they going to spot it? He was battling for forward progress on the first down. Those defenders led by Marcus Walker trying to pull him back.
Not many guys can throw across their body like Paul Smith. Again, his vision, being patient, gets his shoulder square to his target and is able to deliver the football. And right here, Meyer, great job knowing he's going to get popped. And this is disturbing. You see 8 or 6 Oklahoma defenders right there. Meyer's not on the ground. You got a receiver carrying around 6 defenders. You better wake up. That's ridiculous. Wake up, Oklahoma. Get them down. Get physical, baby.
Called by Tulsa. Their last. With 6:50 to go in the first quarter, Todd Graham knows how important it is for his team to get off to a good start. He's using all of his timeouts to try to help them do that. Smith winded on this warm night. A great weekend of college football. Tomorrow, 3:30 on ABC. Number 10 Penn State facing one of the toughest games on their schedule. They're at Michigan. Most of the Nittany Lions' tough games are at home this year. The Nittany Lions have lost 8 in a row to Michigan. A lot of people have the Nittany Lions in the national championship picture.
You see, Anthony Morelli's got to continue to improve and get better. If he plays better, got as good as chance as anyone. Got Ohio State at home at night. Very successful.
Here's Joe Shad.
Sean, following up on your Penn State-Michigan thought, Chad Henne is available for tomorrow's game as a Michigan quarterback, but he's not going to start. It will be the true freshman, Ryan Mallett. Mike Hart told me he has a little bit of concern about the exchange between center and quarterback in him.
Whistles before the snap on this 4th down and 1 play, and a timeout called by Oklahoma. Bob Stoops and Brent Venables didn't like the way their defense was aligned against that formation.
Sean, I just want to go back to my point about the wide receiver holding up 6 defenders, and I get excited about that because there's no way that a wide receiver, when you're a defender, you take the ball carrier back because of the spot. That officials, they don't bat 1,000%. You get his rear end, you pick him up and take it back. And plus, nobody came for that football. The second, third, fourth, and fifth man didn't come in striking at that ball. This tackle was secure. You got to start getting violent. And I know an Oklahoma defense, when I see it, and they're a little bit shaken right now. They've had a couple blown coverages, and when I don't see receivers going to the ground, if I'm Brett Venables, I call a timeout.
Co-defensive coordinator along with Bobby Jack Wright. Venables does most of the defense calling during the game. One of the best assistants in the country. He was a finalist for the Frank Broyles Award last year to the top assistant coach in the nation. So here they come again. A big 4th down and 1. Tulsa just inside the Oklahoma 28, trying to build on a 7-0 lead.
Chamberlain at linebacker, playing running back.
Yeah, they direct snapped it to him. I don't think he made it. As this is the Wildcat formation, he did not make it, that Gus Malzahn introduced as the offensive coordinator at Arkansas last year, when he'd line up in the shotgun with Darren McFadden taking the direct snap. And they did not get it. Oklahoma takes over on downs.
It's a big stop for Oklahoma again. Lofton protected as the middle linebacker comes free through the hole. Linebacker on linebacker. One linebacker has the ball in his hands. It's not used to having the ball in his hands. I take the linebacker making the tackle, and he won. Good job by Lofton stepping up and beating the play behind the line of scrimmage as opposed to catching.
From the 28, 1st and 10 Sooners. Alan Patrick, the tailback. And he's tripped up after a gain of 2 by Steve Craver, the Bandit. Senior from Hurst, Texas. One of the very few players on this Tulsa team who was recruited by Oklahoma. Craver originally signed with Nebraska out of high school where his brother played. Didn't qualify academically, went to junior college and wound up here at Tulsa.
The advantage of the 3-3-5, you take the Bandit and the strong safety, you put them up at the line of scrimmage. There's not a lot of places to run outside. The bubbles are in the middle.
2 wide receivers, Patrick the lone back. He ran into Nelson Coleman and Chris Chamberlain. Now Dari Noko with a Sports Center 30 at 30 update.
All right, guys, all-time home run king Barry Bonds will play next season, but not for the Giants. That's what he said on his personal website. He said the Giants told him he wasn't in their plans for 2008. And injured Bills tight end Kevin Everett was taken from Buffalo to Houston today to be closer to home as he recovers from his spinal cord injury. Doctors plan to have him stand on his own in the next few days. Details at Sports Center, 11 Eastern. You can stay current with ESPN News.
A blitz. Bradford got away from it and runs out very near that yellow line. Will they mark him with a 1st down? It appears they will at the 39-yard line. Nelson Coleman chased him out, but it's a 6-yard pickup for the redshirt freshman from Oklahoma City, Sam Bradford.
A good awareness by Sam Bradford. They didn't pick up the zone blitz by Nelson Coleman, who flushed him. And Bradford, where the awareness on the field of knowing where the 1st down was, getting there without taking a shot.
Bradford in a 3-way competition in the preseason to be the starting quarterback. He was not head and shoulders above Joey Halsey or Keith Nickel. The coaches felt with his poise, he was best equipped to start the year, and it's been demonstrated with his play. They made a good decision. DeMarco Murray tackled by Chris Chamberlain after a gain of 2.
And this is where Tulsa's defense has to stay patient. They know that this is a powerful offense. Great skilled players are going to make their plays. Just keep your gap integrity. Everybody has a job in an area to protect it with everything you have.
And Roberts still has not returned to the field for Tulsa. The defense fights on without him. Iglesias taken down by Charles Davis, and here's Joe Shad.
Sean, it does not look good for Roy Roberts. Tulsa does not reveal injury information, but they have tried everything. They've tried to stretch out that right hamstring. They've tried to ice it. They now have it wrapped in a huge ice pack. This game was so important for Roberts. You know, his cousin, Jermaine Gresham, is an Oklahoma tight end.
And they were very close. He was really looking forward to playing against Gresham. And the Sooners made a key play early but might not return. Bradford hit it, he throws, but got it to Iglesias for another first down. Another third down conversion. Nelson Coleman was rushing the passer, but Bradford hung in there, got it to Iglesias. 4-5. Iglesias, their leading receiver through the first 3 games with 19 catches, averaging 16 yards per reception.
Yeah, a good route runner. Again, another options, but Oklahoma's offensive line better figure out how to block a zone blitz, or Bradford will be taking about a bottle of Advil on the drive back to Norman.
He's only been sacked a couple of times this year, but Kevin Wilson, the coordinator, says he's taken way too many hits. He throws it up deep. There's a flag down. Some bumping along the near sideline between Joaquin Iglesias and Charles Davis.
Take a look here. We'll see Charles Davis right there. You got to keep your hand off.
It's number 24 on the defense. That's a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
I'm usually pro defender on that, and Charles, you're in great position. You don't need to do that. Look and lean, baby. Slap his hand. You don't need to go bump him. You're on top of him.
So the walk-off to the 35-yard line of Tulsa, and Brandon Jones is the injured nose guard for the Golden Hurricane, senior from Duncanville, Texas. Veteran, 39 career games, 11 of them starts. And he plays all over that 3-man front. They play that 3-3-5 defense. They basically have 8 players on 2 feet, reading the ball with a chance to defend the pass or rush from just about anywhere.
And that nose guard is the key to the whole 3-3-5. If you're weak at nose, then you're vulnerable everywhere else. If you got a hog and a tough man, boy dog warrior at nose guard, you got a shot, because they'll demand double teams and they'll hold the point and they'll get penetration. It'll hurt them if they lose Brandon. They usually play 2 of them. You have Nimmons in there right now, who splits time with Brandon, but he could get tired.
Well, if Jones goes out, that's 2 of their best defenders out. And movement at the left end of the line.
79 offense, 5 yards, first down.
Tough to miss when Phil Lodeholt moves. 6'8", the tallest player in the history of Oklahoma football, 352 pounds. And he can move. He has good feet. As Coach Wilson said, he's a good knee bender for a guy that size. Helps him with leverage in the blocking game.
Again, the size of these guys, 6'8", 350. 322 across the board. A lot of meat.
Alan Patrick, the lone back, burst through a big hole. And got belted by Randy Duncan, and then gave a little lip to Duncan. Patrick ahead for 11. Inside the 30-yard line, down to the 29, 4 yards short of a first down.
Here's the bubbles that I've been talking about. You have these bubbles right here. That's the area that is vulnerable, and you'll see it happen right now as the play starts. The bubbles in the cutback lane, when you got a body on the body, Brian's got to get over there. It's tough. When you have those big bubbles, it's easy to change the line of scrimmage.
7 rushes for 31 yards for Patrick. 3 tight ends in the game for Oklahoma. Patrick, a nice bounce outside. First down. Touchdown. He high-stepped awfully early, and you wonder if he thought he was in the end zone when he was at the 5-yard line, because the goal line is a different color and very hard to see. It's a very faded gold, where the other major lines on the field are all white. And I don't know if he knew he was in the end zone when he started doing this routine.
Yeah. Randy Duncan threw the no-hitter. That's good in baseball, bad in football. Randy Duncan had him in his sights, and you see the nice little shake and bake, shimmy it for Alan Patrick.
I don't think the coaches like his version of the Rockettes either. Extra point up and good from Garrett Hartley, one of the best kickers in the country. And Oklahoma, after a 4th down stand, drives the field and gets the tying score. 3:20 to go in the first half, 7-all. College football primetime on this Friday night, Oklahoma and Tulsa. Tied at 7. Alan Patrick, the star of that drive. He rushed for 44 yards, including the 29-yard touchdown. Carried 4 times on that possession. 7 out of the 8 plays on the drive were rushes.
Oklahoma started off that turnover meaning the 4th and 1 stop that woke up their defense. If Oklahoma gets that running game going, that's when Malcolm Kelly, Iglesias, they get going.
Oklahoma is balanced. 12th in the nation in passing and 13th in rushing. Coming in. Garrett Hardley kicks off. Down to the goal line to Brennan Marion. And he decided to stay in the end zone. Ooh. Only a yard or 2 deep. Once again, here's Darian Oka.
All right, guys, so we're enjoying OU and TU on ESPN2, but over on ESPN, you can watch a little baseball. Braves leading 1-0 on the Brewers, who need to win to stay within a game and a half of the Cubs in the National League Central. Atlanta trying for a 6th straight win. They're still not out, 4.5 behind the Mets. That's what's on ESPN.
All right, Dari, thank you. Excellent football action tonight here on ESPN2. Paul Smith and the Golden Hurricane back on offense. And they dropped the handoff. Terrian Adams lost it. And he got back on it, but it'll be a 9-yard loss.
And the Paul's there looking at Terrian saying, I'm supposed to give it to you. Terrian said, no, that was supposed to be a fake. A miscommunication. You see Terrian's looking to block somebody. He doesn't even realize that the ball was given to him. Did do a good job of readjusting and getting on the loose ball. Miscommunication.
This is a new offense for Tulsa this year. They played a pro-style attack under Steve Cragthorpe. He left to become the head coach at Louisville. Smith couldn't find anybody open. Now throws deep on the run and almost found a receiver. Going deep for Brennan Marion. DJ Wolf, one of the safeties, had the coverage. It'll be 3rd down and long.
Yeah, Paul Smith's kicking himself. You saw him slap the AstroTurf there in a little bit of disgust. Excuse me, field turf nowadays. He had a shot to make a play. And not a difficult play, but one that certainly Paul Smith is capable of making.
Gus Malzahn. Driving force behind this no-huddle spread offense. They like to play at a fast tempo. They'll go to the ground on 3rd and 19. They'll get 10 from Terrian Adams, but not enough. And they'll be forced to punt as we tick down near 2 minutes left in a very entertaining first quarter.
That's Oklahoma defense. Getting pressure, and I guarantee you Tulsa doesn't want to operate 15 yards behind the sticks.
Reggie Smith back for the punt. Michael Such to punt. He had one deflected last week by BYU. He's averaging just over 39 yards per punt this year. Smith from his own 35. Brings it back 15 yards to the 50 after a 44-yard punt. Tanner Andel made the tackle for the Golden Hurricane. Norman, Oklahoma, the home of the University of Oklahoma. They're the University of Oklahoma, but they're OU. It's 124 miles from Norman to the University of Tulsa, and they are TU. I don't understand that.
It's the way they do it in Oklahoma.
It's OU and TU, but they're the University of Oklahoma and the University of Tulsa. You think they'd be UO and UT. Bradford going deep, and his receiver Malcolm Kelly got twisted around. Good coverage there by John Destin, the sub who came in for Roy Roberts, who suffered a leg injury on a key first quarter interception.
Yeah, it was a matter of time before they want to test Destin. He passes the first test, and I would test him with, I think, the best wide receiver in the ballgame.
Say it was only a matter of destiny.
I'll go with that.
No, you won't. I didn't even get the courtesy smile.
You're not going to be here all week.
Yeah, the truck is very silent down there, too. I left down the entire crew. Alan Patrick, the ball carrier. Chris Chamberlain and Nelson Coleman, those backers, made the tackle. Coach Graham thinks both of his stalwart linebackers have a chance to play in the NFL.
8 years of experience, both of them 4-year starters. They have to play big. This is their signature game. One they'll take with them for the rest of their lives. If they can pull the upset, let her loose.
Todd Graham actively involved in calling the defenses. He was the defensive coordinator here for 3 years. Great pump fake by Bradford, and his man is wide open. It's Iglesias. Touchdown.
That's the setup. They've been setting that up. Why? I'll tell you why they set it up, because Roberts picked the same hitch route off. So what do? You come back, you fake the hitch. Charles Davis says, I want to be a star. You better be sure if you're a corner if you want to be a star and you jump this. It wasn't even that big of a fake. Charles Davis attacks, and Iglesias does a great job, an outstanding job of maneuvering his body, avoiding contact with Charles Davis, and just waiting for the ball to go to the promised land. Joaquin. On time.
And Malcolm Kelly is the headliner among the receivers, but Iglesias is having a prolific season as well. 46-yard touchdown pass, Bradford to Iglesias. Hartley the extra point, and Oklahoma leads for the first time tonight with 52 seconds left in the first quarter. And Todd Graham saying, yep, you don't really want to bite on that pump fake like that, Charles Davis.
And Charles Davis really, he wasn't even looking at the quarterback. He was playing Joaquin Iglesias man to man. But he's got to be disciplined. You want to make sure you keep that ball in front of you. They're going to go back to that now because, again, that was set up by the interception by Roy Roberts when Malcolm Kelly ran a hitch and Sam Bradford was looking right at him. Well, we'll try it the other side and see if Charles Davis got a little excited, saw touchdown. Instead, he saw Iglesias in his heels going into the end zone.
When we spoke with Todd Graham, he said we have a lot of very good players. The biggest difference between us and Oklahoma would be depth. You know, they have a lot of depth everywhere. We don't. And when you lose a guy like Roy Roberts very early in the game, you know that sooner or later that's going to have an effect.
Well, and you have to see if that's going to have an effect on Todd Graham and what defenses he can't call. When you lose your best cover corner, that certainly can affect your game plan and how you attack Oklahoma's offense from a defensive standpoint.
Todd Graham's had an interesting history, particularly recently. 3 years here as the defensive coordinator under Steve Cragthorpe, 2003 through 2005. Roberts still on the bench and showing no signs of returning. And last year to Rice as head coach for 1 year, took them to a bowl game for the first time in 45 years. And when this job opened, he returned to Tulsa as head coach. Brennan Marion brought back the Hartley kickoff, 20 yards. And Tulsa, trailing for the first time tonight, will start this possession at its own 21-yard line as Gus Malzahn calls the plays on the sideline.
Well, they need positive yards. I mean, I know that's an overstatement. They need positive yards on first and second down. They can't be playing at first and 20, first and 25, second and 30. They got no shot.
Flags before.
False start, 82 offense. 5 yards, first down.
We're starting at first and 15.
Jacob Frank, which is a good name to have on tailgating week.
Please reset the game clock to 45 seconds. 45 seconds.
But you don't want to be penalized on this or any other week. 2 penalties for 20 yards against the Golden Hurricane. They got the big plays early, but momentum has shifted back to the Sooners. Here in the final minute of the first quarter. Terrion Adams lowered his head and got a wallop. He got a tough extra yard or two, lost his helmet in doing so. DJ Wolf delivered the hit. It's a gain of 9 for Tulsa.
But I like the aggressiveness of Terrion Adams right there, saying, I'll take you on. I'm not one of those running backs that's going to duck contact or look for the sidelines. We're going to find out. Nice contact between Wolf and Adams.
Courtney Tennille would have been their featured back this year, but he got injured in the preseason, blew out his Achilles, and will not play this year. He's a transfer from Oklahoma. Good work by Smith. He found Jesse Meyer, who's been his best receiver here in the first quarter, for 9 yards and a first down. And what could be the last play of the quarter if Tulsa elects to have that be the case. There's Courtney Tennille. Been a couple of years that Oklahoma did not play there. Transferred here, was the leading rusher for Tulsa last year. As they went 8-5 in Steve Kragthorpe's last season. End of the first quarter, Stoops and the Sooners up by a touchdown. And welcome back to Tulsa. The Golden Hurricane grabbed the early lead, but Oklahoma came roaring back with 2 touchdowns. They lead 14-7 as we go to the second quarter. 1st and 10 for Tulsa. Terrion Adams turns the corner to the 40-yard line. A gain of 7 on first down. Sean McDonough with Chris Spielman. We're pleased to be joined. Cast in the rare role as fan for most of this night by Bob Davie, our ESPN colleague. He'll have the game about an hour and a half away tomorrow over in Arkansas, between Kentucky and Arkansas. But how are you enjoying this experience?
You know, when I was a coach, I never understood why fans booed. After being a fan, I can see why. I mean, you spend all that money, you fight to find a place to park, then you finally get your seat, you can't see anything. So if I coach again, I'm going to give them the green light, man. They sacrifice a lot, these fans, to get to these games now.
Adams in trouble and swarmed under, back behind the line of scrimmage by Reggie Smith. You were telling us during the break between quarters you couldn't remember the last time you'd actually just sat in the stands as a fan.
Yeah, I don't think I've been on the sidelines really since the Notre Dame game. And I think the thing that jumped out at me being down there, just the eye test, Chris, between these two teams. I mean, Oklahoma compared to Tulsa on the hoof, how they look, height and weight, it's unbelievable now. Oklahoma is a great looking football team.
Coach Graham said, you know, he didn't want to look at that team during warm-ups.
That's exactly right.
And they passed the eyeball test. The all-bus team, and they take it to the field.
You know, and the same thing's true for Bob Stoops. Don't look down at Tulsa in pregame, because you have a tendency to get overconfident now.
Play clock running out. Smith needs to snap it on 3rd down and 10. They just did beat the play clock. He had a couple receivers open, and that one is juggled and then intercepted. Picked off by Ryan Reynolds after Trey Johnson couldn't come up with it.
There's a true freshman that has a chance to make a play. But Reynolds doesn't give up. He's breaking on the ball from his linebacker. Paul Smith trusts his arm. He could have ran for that first down, but he's going to trust his arm and trust his receivers. He's got a chance to make something happen. Reynolds running to the ball, turning into the lumbering fullback once he gets his hands on the rock.
You see how difficult this Tulsa offense is to just consistently defend, Chris, because they spread you out all over the field. And then Paul Smith is a runner. And like you said right there, I mean, he really could have run for some yardage.
He's counting on his guys to make plays. I mean, the problem that Tulsa has is their youth at wide receiver. It would have been a tough catch, but one that he's certainly capable of making.
Marcus Granger is the injured Sooner, defensive tackle, sophomore out of Dallas. And there were actually a couple receivers open, too, on the last play. He had a receiver open right in front of the Tulsa sideline.
You know, I think the other thing you see being down there, just the dynamics of a team that really has nothing to lose in some ways, Tulsa. Just how loose they are, how they call plays, they kind of let it rip. And then on the other side, it's Oklahoma, who doesn't seem real excited, but let's face it, a lot more pressure on Oklahoma, obviously, than there is Tulsa.
I think it's welcome pressure for Oklahoma. And I know, and anybody knows that, look, you look at this football team in Oklahoma, as far as balance as offense, defense, special teams, but you match their skilled people up with anybody in the country as a group or a unit. I had a chance to go out and see California and Tennessee, and California skilled people, from the quarterbacks to the receivers to the running backs. There's not a weakness, and that's what's familiar with the Oklahoma offense.
Well, I think you talk about Oklahoma, and I did their spring game. The thing you see, Oklahoma, what separates them from the other four, they have a chip on their shoulder. You look at LSU, Florida, USC, they all won their bowl game. where Oklahoma got embarrassed now by Tulsa, and Bob Stoops had to live with that all spring, off season. So you take a talented team that has a major chip on their shoulder. That's why you better watch OU now.
Yeah, when the subject of the bowl loss in the Fiesta Bowl to Boise State came up in our conversation this week, he bristled at it. He said way too much has been made about that. So Boise State was a very good football team, and for a lot of last year, people were saying we weren't a very talented Oklahoma team. He said, I thought we accomplished a lot last year that got lost because of the ending. He made a good point about Boise State. He said, all year people said, they're really good. They don't get enough credit. Then they win a game, everybody says it's a huge upset.
Man, Chris knows. Don't underestimate from January, February, March, off-season conditioning program, all those things. That chip on their shoulder mentality with this team, that's going to pay dividends.
I think it will. I mean, it's almost worth the sacrifice. You never want to lose a ball game, but if you do lose it, what are you going to do with that loss? Are you going to go in the tank, or are you going to motivate?
Because you know what? Oklahoma wasn't a great team last year. They were fortunate to get to a BCS bowl game. So I think you make a great point there. I mean, all of a sudden, if they win that game, they start thinking they're a little better than they are. They almost had to go back and start over with a bunch of young, talented guys now.
I think Coach Stoops, the fact that he reacted like he did, it was a big deal. It was a big deal to lose by.
Well, he's just tired of hearing about it. He felt like too much was made of it, that somehow they lost in a huge upset when he felt Boise State didn't get enough credit for being the very good team that they were. And he was proud of what they accomplished last year, and all that got lost. I mean, they took a wide receiver basically and made him a quarterback right before the start of the year. Paul Thompson last year won the Big 12 and went to a BCS bowl game.
I got to ask you one question, man. Chris, did you get Sean up this morning for that workout that I saw up in Bristol back in August? You had him on that off-season program. Did he get up this morning and get it done?
I'll let him speak for that.
I know the answer if you don't let him.
If it keeps up like this, you'll be calling me McDiesel by the end of the year. I am definitely a convert to the Steelman workout program and my strapping 5'9", 170 pounds. Alan Patrick, the ball carrier on first down for Oklahoma after the interception. Well, you saw the numbers. You know, it's very early in the season. Oklahoma is ranked very impressive in the top 3 in both offense and defense in total yardage. But some will say, you know, they haven't played a very hard schedule. I think a lot of people have a lot more respect for Miami when the Sooners win over them after what the Canes did last night to Texas A&M. Bradford dumps it off short to Patrick. 2 spin moves, brutal tackling. And finally, John Destin gets him down near the 15-yard line. If they're going to whiff like that tackling all night, it will be a short night. This will be over quickly.
Again, this is the Alan Patrick. Sam Bradford makes the correct read, but circle X, spin move on PlayStation.
You know, Sean, I talked to Bob Stoops about his team because the points you made, they really haven't played anyone. But Bob Stoops knows. He loves the chemistry of this team. He said regardless of who they put in against Utah State, no blown assignments. So from top to bottom, they're well coached, and he loves this team. And to me, that says it all. If Bob Stoops puts a stamp on a team,
well, it says something about the depth too, and that's the luxuries that the USC's, Ohio State's, LSU's, Oklahoma's have. I mean, when their guys, their replacements come in, it's not like they're tweeners or guys that Oklahoma's the only Division I offer that they have. I mean, they're recruiting All-Americans to become All-Americans.
And don't think the Tulsa kids don't know that too. So when they came out early, Tulsa, they didn't really think they had a chance. But then that first touchdown led them to think they had a chance. You have to wonder where they are right now, mindset-wise.
This Brown carries for 2 on first down. Now Bradford throws short. Malcolm Kelly breaks 1 tackle and gets near the first down marker. Steve Craver knocked him out. Bob Stoops has reason to be very positive about his team, and he said, to this point, 3-0, we've probably played as well as any team I've had. He said, but all the best teams that I've had got better as the season went along. That will be the challenge, but he has a very good-looking redshirt freshman quarterback, 3 outstanding running backs, a terrific group of wide receiver, maybe the best wide receiver in the country in Kelly, one of the best offensive lines in the country, and they say that the tight end group is the best position group on the offense. Other than that, they got a lot of holes. Murray, a touchdown.
Well, one of the things that suffers is because of the 20-hour rules, technique, and tackling. And I've been preaching this for 2 years. Tackling stinks. John Destin has a chance to come up here and make a play. The problem is he goes low, puts his head down, and tries to tackle the ankles. You have to tackle high, see your target, make a shot. You're going to see John Destin come on block. Chance to make a play. Loses his footing. You're a defensive back. You can't lose your footing. Come up and whack him.
I agree with you 100%. And the problem Tulsa has, their defense practices against that spread, wide open offense every day in practice. They never get a chance to line up and be physical.
Marco Murray, a 4-yard touchdown run. And the Sooners lead 21-7. Oklahoma spotted Tulsa 7-0 lead with 21 unanswered points for the Sooners. And they lead 21-7 with 12:18 to go in the first half here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. As Oklahoma tries to make a claim for number 1, Notre Dame trying to avoid the distinction of being the worst offensive team in the country, at least statistically to this point. That's what they have been. Last in the nation in points, total yards, and rush yards. And with 39 offensive possessions this season, have not scored a touchdown. Each of the other 118 bowl subdivision teams have scored at least 2 offensive touchdowns. Here's Charles Davis bringing back the Garrett Hartley kickoff to the 23.
I don't think anybody, including the coaching staff at Notre Dame, expected the sudden demise. But the thing that Bob will know and be able to testify to as a coach.
That the talent level at Notre Dame could be that bad. I know you coach Holtz near the end of his tenure particularly.
I went through the same airports. They were in a BCS bowl game. Nobody said much. But now that it's going bad, particularly because those statistics are so...
For Tulsa trying to get back in the game. This one 18 yards to Jesse Myers. Had a very nice night. And it's a first down for Tulsa at the Oklahoma 48-yard line. 11-11 to go first half. 21-7 Sooners. Sean McDonough, Chris Spielman, Bob Davie, and over the telephone, Lou Holtz. 6 catches now for Meyer for 87 yards. And in this no-huddle spread, Paul Smith has the Golden Hurricane up quickly. Notre Dame has been playing football since 1887. They've never started a season 0-4. They're looking at that as a distinct possibility should they lose at home tomorrow to Michigan State. Deep ball and the receivers open. Touchdown! Brennan Marion. Flag thrown in the end zone after the touchdown. Wendy Holmes in coverage, but Marion, the fastest player on the Tulsa team, he runs a 4.440, got behind Holmes.
Did this by setting up, and you see Marion just taking off on a takeoff route. Holmes peeking inside, rules of safety. Deepest the deepest, especially you're in zone, but it was set up, and the protection was set up by bringing Wade Whitlow over.
Play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 4 on the offense. 15-yard penalty being forced on the kickoff. Touchdown's good.
To play the tight end position, they did a semi-roll, and Paul Smith just waited. Then he threw the strike to Marion. Now, you got to control it and not do the unsportsmanlike conduct, because that will put Oklahoma at the 50-yard line when this play gets started again.
And Sean, how many Notre Dame fans out there saying, see, it can't be that hard, can it? That was Tulsa against Oklahoma right there.
Yeah. Extra point up and good by Jared Tracy.
The situation is the more that family will rally around one another. I'm not talking about the Subway alumni, but I promise you, in that stadium on Saturday, there'll be more support from Notre Dame than if they were 5-0.
Line up and run the football. That's what Notre Dame football, just like Ohio State football, was built.
That's a little harsh, but you guys know better than I do, but I only know what I see.
Penalty against Oklahoma has the ball back at the 38-yard line.
Left guard on the offense. 5 yards, first down.
Wiped out the big gain of the penalty, and now another penalty, moving back 5 more.
And I do think, because Chris, you know from playing at Ohio State, it is mentally exhausting on those guys right now, those players at Notre Dame.
And that's when they got to galvanize and get around each other.
Chamberlain. Tackle in space by Chris Chamberlain. He takes down Alan Patrick. Virtually no gain on the play. Coach Holtz, we're going to let you get back to work. Thank you so much for the visit.
Well, thank you. One last thing I'd like to say, as Bob knows, our main adjustment was we adjusted our chin strap. We're going to do what we know how to do, and it's up to you to stop us. Thank you for having me.
All right, Lou, thank you. Yes, sooner or later, you're Notre Dame. You should be dictating to the other team, not the other way around.
And I'll tell you a story about Lou Holtz on offense that I learned my first year as defensive coordinator.
Bradford, after the fake, has his man short of a first down, Iglesias. But he got a bundle of it back to the 45-yard line, 22 yards, about 3 yards short of the first. Oklahoma leads here with 10 minutes to go till halftime. They're up 21-14. Third down and 3. Iglesias wide open. They played off him with 3 yards to go for a first down. Destin got him out of bounds. But it's a first down inside the 40. 5 catches already, 85 yards for Joaquin Iglesias.
Yeah, they're working Destin over. And I'll tell you, that was a great route. You see the adjustments and the growth and the experience of the wide receivers. They ran the quick slant, but hold up. They didn't finish the quick slant. He turned it back into an option route, and Bradford delivers the ball before receivers are out of their cuts. It makes them more dangerous.
That's impressive for a redshirt freshman to throw before the cut. Have the faith in yourself and the receiver. Might have lost a little faith on Quentin Chaney, who couldn't come up with a throw that wasn't perfect, and you saw Bradford pointing at himself.
You see right here what I mean. Bradford's going to deliver the ball with the recognition of the coverage. He's throwing the ball before his receiver is taken off, and Chamberlain gets a little bit in the throwing lane, but opportunities to make plays, make it. But I love the fact, and Coach talked about this, Kevin Wilson talked about this, and Coach Stoops about the anticipation of Sam Bradford that wasn't there in training camp. But once he got to work with these talented, skilled position players of Oklahoma, he's starting to trust his arm. Then you can start delivering the ball and throwing people open as opposed to waiting for people to get open to throw the ball. Yeah, you throw them open.
The thing I love about Sam Bradford, that quick release. But nobody's talking about Brett Bomar. Was that the quarterback's name last year that left before the season? I mean, it's all about Sam Bradford. We look at Kevin Wilson right there. He's done a great job now as offensive coordinator.
As he says, it's a quarterback-friendly offense, but you still have to step in and execute. And Bradford has. How about his accuracy? At one point this season, he completed 22 in a row. His final 18 passes against North Texas in the opener, and the first 4 against Miami. That broke Jason White's school record by 4 completions in a row. And then he had another streak of 21 completions in a row, the last 10 against Miami and the first 11 last week against Utah State. So he's broken that record twice in 3 games. And on target to Gresham, the tight end, tumbles forward near another first down. Jermaine, a sophomore, chopped down by Chris Chamberlain. Nine yards on the gain. And another third down here. Third down and 1. Field goal range.
Gresham, that tight end's bigger than Tulsa's lineman. Yeah. I stood next to him on the field, Chris. It was unbelievable how big he is.
You're listing at 6'5", 263. Brown the first down to the 21-yard line. Here's Joe.
Sean, Todd Graham has been pleading with his defense nonstop. Just hang in there. We're going to score points against Oklahoma. He said it over and over again. Please just hang in. We're going to score tonight.
Easier said than done.
Especially when you gave up 695 to BYU last week.
And I'm seeing Duke Robinson at 352 pulling around like a sprinter.
Yeah, they need to tackle better, for sure. And they have so far tonight. Bradford off the fake. Touchdown! Jermaine Gresham, that big target Bob was talking about. 21-yard strike thrown by Bradford with Randy Duncan in coverage. And it's back to a 2-touchdown edge for the Sooners.
Well, again, you're going to see Gresham right here release inside. And if you have a 2 deep, what they do have on, and you don't jam the inside receivers, it's too easy and there's too much pressure placed on the safeties. And the most impressive thing about that play, Gresham hold on to that football after taking a shot from Randy Duncan.
Third touchdown reception of the year. Rushing at 8 catches in their win against Miami. With Hartley the extra point. 8:50 to go till halftime. Oklahoma up by 14 again. 14. They came in having made 19 plays on offense of 20 yards or more in their first 3 games. They've had 6 already tonight of 20 plus. That's 25 plays of 20 or more, and they're not even at halftime of their 4th game of the year. That's amazing.
It's an amazing statistic, but what it does say is, again, the amount of choices that Bradford has, it just keeps getting better and better. Then you throw a tight end in the mix, which isn't often a big factor in college football. Creates a lot of problems for defensive matchups.
Charles Davis brings the kickoff back to the 30. There's Gus Malzahn, the offensive coordinator. Todd Graham saying he thinks that they're going to score. He has great faith in this no-huddle spread offense. He was a successful high school coach in the state of Arkansas, won state championships, was brought to Arkansas last year to be the offensive coordinator, but they didn't really let him run his offense. They weren't a no-huddle spread. He came here largely for the chance to run his offense, what he wants to do.
Well, first of all, Sean, when you hire a high school coach and bring him in and he brings 4 prospects with him, some who, Mitch Mustaine, maybe the #1 prospect in the country, it's going to be controversial, particularly when your philosophy as a head coach doesn't match what he does on offense, and he's going to be your offensive coordinator. So almost no chance in that scenario for that to work at Arkansas last year.
So he left, Mitch Mustaine left ahead of him. At the time Todd Graham got this job, he didn't think Gus Malzahn would come here. He actually hired Herb Hand out of West Virginia to be the offensive coordinator. And he called Gus Malzahn. He said, I need a quarterback coach, preferably a young guy, good recruiter. Gus said, let me think about it. I'll call you back. A couple of days later, Gus Malzahn called back and said, I'd like that job if you'll have me. And Todd Graham said, if I'm going to have Gus Malzahn, he has to be my coordinator, so he shares the role with Herb Hand. They had to find some money to pay both of them, and the athletic department did their job. Bubba Cunningham, the AD. Austin English with a 2nd sack of Paul Smith.
Well, it's tough to run that spread offense down at Arkansas when you have Darren McFadden and Felix Jones.
Exactly.
All right, hey, boys, you go out and run some hitch passes. No, you give those horses the ball and let them do their work.
And you know what? That's a fair question. And I asked Houston Nutt today, why did you hire him then? But I also
the recruits.
Well, yeah, but I also see Houston Nutt's side of it in that they did run this spread offense last year, Chris, early in the season. Now, I see Gus's side because they abandoned that offense after 3 games. So I do see both sides of the situation. But you almost had no chance if you're Gus Malzahn.
No. Terrion Adams, the catch, went out of bounds, apparently short of the marker. It would be 4th down. And I think with the confidence that Graham has in his offense and the shaky defense, don't you have to go for this?
Oh, absolutely. I think you guys just to give your defense hopefully a rest.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What do you do? I saw him on 4th and 1 early in the game when they're up 7-0 down here. That's the problem with these offenses. What do you run? They ran quarterback counter, Chris, on 4th and 1 early in the game. They have no running game.
What I do, I put trips to one side, single up a receiver, and let him work a slant. If the guy's off, if he's pressed, I run the fade and take my shot.
Yeah, because you're committed to throwing it. I agree. Don't try to run it all of a sudden in the most critical situation because you can't.
Well, in 4th and 1 from their own 40, they're going to punt.
After all that.
Yeah, I don't understand that. You're asking your defense to hang in there because you're pretty certain they might not be able to. Your offense is your strength. You got to get in a scoring match. Then you don't try to keep the ball and score. 36-yard punt.
It's got to be 5-11.
Sean McDonough, Chris Spielman, Bob Davie, and Joe Shad back in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Golden Hurricane on their home field down by 2 touchdowns, and it's Oklahoma's ball.
A 350 right there, 220 right there. Take a look.
Smothering.
350 wins.
Yeah, smothering the freshman, Odrick Ray. He was a wide receiver in high school. That's why he's number 80. He might want to go back to being a wide out after Mr. Lodeholt just ran him into the turf.
And he's shaking his head. He's getting baptized a little bit. But, you know, if you're going to put a 220-pound guy up against 350, you move him. You don't say run off and hit the big offensive tackle. I mean, you don't get in a certain match with a skunk. You know what I mean, Sean, by that? Good. You got it.
I'm with you. Patrick again. First down and much more. Finally taken down near the 30-yard line. Here's another reason why I don't think you punt, because you know this is likely to happen again. 33 yards on the run by Patrick.
Chris, I know you're not a big fan of this 3-3 stack defense because there's huge caverns in there in the inside running game.
Yeah, it's the bubbles. I mean, it's just double the nose, chip off on a linebacker, and you don't have support. You're all right on the flanks, but up the middle, and when you're playing a team that runs up the middle, you might want to do a little bit of adjusting. You can go to a bear front with 2-3 techniques to help yourself.
Back-to-back 100-yard plus games for Patrick. Brown hit hard by Chamberlain, lost it. The officials now saying incomplete. You saw the hesitation from the linesman at the bottom of your screen looking for help, and they ruled incomplete pass as Chamberlain belted it out, but apparently Brown never had. Well, he had it.
Yeah. And Chris Chamberlain does a good job of leading with those screws in the helmet, putting it right on the football and running through the tackle. You see him bring his feet on the hit. And that's the type of play, those type of close calls need to go Tulsa's way to get their offense on the field.
And there's a penalty as well. I believe roughing the passer, the call against Tulsa. Apparently the ref's mic is not working. It wouldn't have mattered anyway because of that penalty. Oklahoma would have kept the ball. The walk-off to the 15. 4 penalties, 50 yards against Tulsa. When they actually hit you, they hit pretty hard, this Tulsa defense. They whiff with great frequency as well. Chamberlain again into the tackle, this time of DeMarco Murray. Matter of fact, Coach Graham said last week, and we saw some of the film.
Yeah.
They had 14 we call knockout shots against BYU. They did put a lot of good looks. He said even the kicker and the punter had a knockout shot.
Well, they do, and it's just, you know, that's the nature of the defense. It's tough to defend against 320 pounds of beef coming off the ball when you have 3 down linemen and your secondary players or your back players in your front 7 are 3 and 4 yards off the ball. There's just natural caverns created, like here.
DeMarco Murray slithers down to the 6, a yard short of the first down. Alan Karatapian made the tackle.
You know, you talk about, and it's so hard to judge who has the best offensive line in the country. But I know this. I'll make this statement. There is none better than this Oklahoma offensive line. I mean, the difference you see is the height and the athleticism of these guys. I mean, Robinson, look at Lodel. That's the biggest human being in the country right there, Chris. That's 6'8", 370 pounds. Robinson next to him's 330.
Yeah. And they're all juniors. They'll all be back next year. The 2 key backups who rotate in at guard and tackle, Brian Simmons and Trent Williams, are both sophomores. Flag down at the play stands. It's first down for Chris Brown.
Yeah, Odrick Ray got a little excited. And again, that's because they're moving him. You don't want to match him up. You want to give him a chance to fight by putting him on the move.
Number
Here he
80
comes
on
out.
the defense. So it'll be half the distance to the goal. 10 yards is good for a first down.
I just want to make, and you know, the 3-3-5 can work in Conference USA because the athletes are a little bit more equal. But when you're playing the number 4 team in the country, it's just a little bit difficult when they're pounding you. And that's the weakness of the defense, and that's the strength of Oklahoma's offense. That's why you see them hitting it up the middle.
The thing I like about Oklahoma, you know, Oklahoma was a spread team. Mike Leach was the offensive coordinator, as you guys know, when Bob Stoops first took the job. But now they're balanced and they can run. You know, right there, just a 2-back ISO kind of play. And you know what, Chris, you made the point. You have to do what you have to do. I mean, Tulsa probably has to be a spread offense to try to move the football. I mean, it's a small school. There's only 4,000 students. Even against Conference USA teams, they're going to have some problems maybe matching up. But at some point, don't you have to run the football a little bit in college football?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't care, Chris. I mean, right?
I'm with you.
We talked about that 2-back rule. I think there ought to be an NCAA rule. 25 times a game you have to put 2 backs in the backfield to run the ball.
And be old school.
Patrick got them down to the 1-yard line. Patrick gets the call again. He's into the end zone. Ian Pleasant with a good block. He was in at fullback. And the route apparently is on with 4:07 to go till halftime. Already 34 points on the board for Coach Stoops. Sooners with the extra point still to come.
It's the old power O play, and watch Duke Robinson at 72 pull up and lead the way. And the problem is he gets his big weight going. Look at him, he's 350 pounds himself. He doesn't have to block anybody because nobody's in the hole to hit him. But anytime you have an athlete that moves that well at that size, there's going to be a lot of space to run to.
They can't find any volunteers to get in front of him.
Yeah.
Extra point good by Hartley. Alan Patrick already over 100 yards in the half and into the end zone to cap that drive for Oklahoma. $74-yard drive after Todd Graham elected to punt on 4th down and 1 from his own 40. Seemed just about inevitable.
Did you think that was the right call?
I think it goes against everything he said.
You got that message, didn't you, Chris?
Charles Davis runs it back. Then again, we had his bowl game last year. He told us what a great place Rice was, and there isn't any reason why you can't win there. And then a week later, he's here as the head coach. So, anyway.
I'll tell you what, they paid him about $1 million to come here now.
He had a lot of reasons to come. I'm not saying that, but anyway, here's Dari Noka with a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
All right, guys, coming up on the Olive Garden halftime report, Mark May, Lou Holtz join me. 3 big games in the SEC Saturday, 3 big picks from those 2 gentlemen. Also discuss Notre Dame. Where is the fight in the Fighting Irish? And big news out of San Francisco. It involves Barry Bonds in 2008. Guys, we'll see you at the half.
All right, Dari, thank you. On first down, Paul Smith swings it for Tarian Adams with some running room, and he gets knocked out of bounds. Took a pretty good shot from DJ Wolf and Curtis Lofton. 8 yards on the play. No timeouts for Tulsa in the remainder of the half.
Oh, and Tulsa's going to fight you now, and they believe in their offense. If they can get it down to 14 and get something happening on defense, whether it's turnovers or some type of action, they got hurt a little bit by that close call, but their offense will move the football.
Thank you, Jamad Williams, the redshirt freshman. Smith throws it up in a double coverage, and it's broken up and nearly intercepted by Lindy Holmes. It was intended for Brennan Marion.
And Marion actually does a good job of converting to the defensive back and getting in between 2 Oklahoma defenders. You don't want to get greedy here. Again, a lot of their stuff has been open in the intermediate routes. Go ahead and use the intermediate routes. Don't throw in a double coverage. You don't need that right now. Paul Smith's decision-making has been pretty on target and on time all night.
Smith throws off his back foot, and what a throw it is to Charles Clay. Out of bounds inside the 20. Marked out at the 18-yard line of Oklahoma.
Well, that's the matchup that they want. When you get Charles Clay matched up on anybody underneath besides a corner, he's going to make them pay. Charles Clay lined up in the fullback position in the offset eye, and you see him throw the ball open just where he needs to throw it. Actually beats Reggie Smith, the corner, the All-American corner, and Charles Clay gets his big, long strides, and he's one of those guys that when he runs, he doesn't look like he's running, except he's a space eater.
Smith sacked back at the 21-yard line after a 53-yard gain. A loss on the play of about 3. Nick Harris came from the secondary for the sack.
I'll tell you what, in this offense, you better have a quarterback. As you see Paul Smith go out the wide receiver right here, you better have a quarterback that's an athlete, because he's going to take some shots in this offense.
There's that Wildcat formation again with Chamberlain in the backfield. His arm got hit as he threw it. Tried to find Tarian Adams. Well, Bob, this is what we're talking about at Arkansas. This is one thing Gus Malzahn brought to Arkansas that he left behind with Darren McFadden. And we'll probably see it tomorrow in your game, 6 o'clock right here on ESPN2 when Arkansas hosts Kentucky.
Yeah, you see trends in college football, Chris. Everybody in the country, including Charlie Weiss, is putting a running back at quarterback now. Direct snap at least a couple times in the game. You think coaches are copycats now?
Yeah, single win.
Hasn't worked well for them tonight. Smith to Adams, and a good open field ankle tackle by DJ Wolf when it looked like Adams might escape. Who do you like in your game tomorrow night? I know we won't have to make a prediction because you're covering it, but Kentucky coming off the big win, Arkansas off a tough loss.
Yeah, I mean, the team with the shortest memory, right, probably bounces back, but I go with the team that can run the football as dynamic as I think Arkansas can. Now, Kentucky's balanced. Great quarterback, great scheme, but I tell you, those two running backs at Arkansas, Chris.
Well, Raphael Little from Kentucky can carry the rock a little bit too, but you're right.
But I'm talking about physical now. McFadden will pound you.
Jared Tracy missed a 35-yarder knuckleball. I'm not sure 3 points would have helped a lot the way the defense is playing either, but not as much of a choice that time. And here's the information on the game, Kentucky at Arkansas. Kentucky 3-0 off the big win over their rival Louisville, and they are having trouble stopping the run, which doesn't bode well when you're going up against McFadden and Jones.
And I see right now McFadden, the leader in the ESPN poll for the Heisman. I can see why. I mean, he was a runner-up last year. He had, 193 against Alabama. Didn't play the last 9 minutes. They put him at quarterback in the Wild Hog thing, so he gets some publicity out of that.
Here's Alan Patrick ripping through the defense. Out to the 36 and a first down. 16 more for Patrick. 2:14 to go in the half. 2 timeouts left for Oklahoma. And there's very quietly, I think, one of the very good coaching jobs that's been done in the last 5 years. Rich Brooks went into a mess. No recent tradition in football and the NCAA stuff. And a lot of people said he's a lousy choice. He's a West Coast guy. He's in Kentucky. And all of a sudden, he has a very good team.
Well, because Kentucky is a beautiful place, great facilities. The problem is, though, they have Ohio State to the north when they go recruiting, and they have all those SEC teams to the south. But I think, again, Mitch Barnhart, the AD, you got to give him a lot of credit. Showed patience. Yeah. Kind of like Iowa did with Kirk Ferentz when he first started out. And the thing I like about Kentucky, great staff. Joker Phillips, the offensive coordinator. Steve Brown, the defensive coordinator. First school in SEC history to have African-American offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator.
Well, one of the things that's underestimated, I think, in college football is the continuity of coaching staffs. And when you can keep guys together and you stay with Rich Brooks, who at one time was ready to get fired, I believe, but they stayed patient, then you get a player like Andre Woodson, who's a program turner. That's exactly what Andre does.
And 3 of those guys, to your point, Chris, stayed as seniors. Raphael Little, the wide receiver, and Andre Woodson stayed. Could have come out in the NFL draft. So, again, that bodes for the continuity, the comfort the kids have in the staff.
Roden Hopkins knocked down the pass. Well, certainly McFadden is a Heisman candidate, maybe the leading candidate right now. How about Andre Woodson? Certainly the win over Louisville helps his cause. Now 257 straight passes without an interception. That's an SEC record, and 14 shy of Trent Dilfer's all-time NCAA record for Fresno State back in 1993. He is a dynamic player. 2nd and 20. They give it to Patrick. Trying to strip the ball. Patrick hangs on and gets 2 or 3. George Slinkscale got him down.
How about Andre Woodson? You talk about overshadowed by Brian Brom at Louisville, really his whole career. Those guys went head-to-head twice in high school, twice in college. Finally, Andre gets the monkey off his back as they beat Louisville in what was an unbelievable game last week.
Great game, and Andre Woodson recognized a coverage mistake by Louisville. It had to be a blown coverage.
No question.
Yeah.
They were in 2 deep against 4 wides and just turned the outside receiver loose up the sidelines.
Safety was probably being pressed in the middle.
I'm going to tell you guys the quarterback now.
Jammed in middle receivers.
Sean knows this from living in Boston. But the quarterback, Matt Ryan at Boston College, he is forward right now. If I had to take one quarterback in this country right now, it may be Matt Ryan.
Timeout Oklahoma with 3rd and long upcoming. Boston College, one of those teams that has been labeled a surprise 3-0 team. I think certainly Air Force is, particularly with those wins. It isn't like they've played cupcakes. Utah and TCU, excellent. I'm not sure if Boston College belongs on that list. Matt Ryan, the preseason ACC Player of the Year. It's a veteran team all around him. Has played together for a while. And I know Tom O'Brien said last year
we're good this year, but I'll have my best team next year. Of course, he left before he coached it, but that's a very good BC team.
I mean, you guys saw Cincinnati.
No,
that's the surprise.
Yeah, Cincinnati, Brian Kelly, toughness.
Exactly.
When you bring toughness, and they'll hit you down there. They'll whack you every second that they get. Then you put an offense with that toughness, they're going to be a team to surprise in the Big East.
I mean, Cincinnati took it to Oregon State. That was a Thursday night game, right?
Yes.
Not a Friday night.
We watched it.
Yeah. I'll tell you the thing, you guys, I don't know if you realize this or not. You realize how many people watch this Friday night game? I have not missed a snap. I was in the Troy, Oklahoma games, Oklahoma State, all the way till the last snap of that game. As Sean was kind of whining about how late it was, I was with you every step.
Chris made me. Trouble with the connection there, and they fell on it. Manuel Johnson got on the ball. And now Tulsa cannot call a timeout because they don't have any, which really hurts them here.
See Joe John Finley coming across and poor timing and miscommunication by the center. And Bradford's got to let him clear if he's triggering when that ball should be snapped. Again, another young mistake. Or either that or Joe John's got to get a rocket on his back and get across in his motion and quit screwing around. Up and up and up. They're saying, let him pass before you call for the ball. But he'll get better. I mean, that kid, he's got a bright future. Just watching him tonight. And, Coach, you and I were talking that release.
Exactly. And in the spring, I mentioned I did their spring game. Nobody knew who the quarterback was going to be.
Yep. Three-way competition. Bradford won it from Joey Halsley and Keith Nickel. They like both of those quarterbacks. Bradford, the son of a former Sooner offensive lineman. His dad, Kent, played there in the late 70s on a national championship team. Sam is a certified Cherokee Indian. His great-great-grandmother, Susie Walking Stick.
I'm going to tell you, this guy digs down for some details. You get that every week, don't you?
Yes, I get educated every week. I mean, it's a continuing education.
And he enjoys some of it. There are more Native Americans, by the way, in Oklahoma, more than 250,000 than any other state in the country.
Have you got him wearing those little spandex outfits to work out in, like my buddy Mark Jones wears when he works out?
No. Only Jones who can pull off the outfits we've seen him in the weight room.
I know Chris has you doing squats, power cleans, just like you're playing, like you're getting ready for an NFL season, right?
I was squatting this morning, wondering why a 45-year-old broadcaster needed to be doing squats in the weight room. They do have a punter, Michael Cohen, and Trey Johnson the fair catch with 17 seconds left in the half and a 42-yard punt. Well, Bob, it's very nice of you to make the almost 2-hour drive over from Fayetteville. We'll look forward to that game tomorrow, Kentucky and Arkansas, 6 o'clock Eastern time.
Appreciate you guys having me. You do a great job.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
Get two backs in the backfield line up around the ball a little bit for me, would you?
If and when you return to coaching, and I don't know if you are interested in doing that, I have a feeling the spread, no huddle, will not be part of your approach.
I'll have some of it, but man, it's hard to play defense when your offense is a spread and you have no one to practice against.
Smith on target.
I got a feeling that
Jesse Meyer.
The 3-3-5 won't be part of the defense either.
Well, you're going to be my defensive coordinator, so I'm going to let you run what you want, but you're not going to run the 3-3.
No, we're going to see ball, get ball, line up and come after him. That's what we're going to do.
Meyer, 3 catches in the first 2 games. He's had 7 for 114 yards here in the first half. 12 seconds to go now. We're down by 21. No timeouts. 1st and 10 at the Oklahoma 48. Paul Smith thrown for 250 and a half.
They get out of bounds.
Yep, they didn't. The clock will stop for a moment to move the chains as Jamad Williams, the redshirt freshman from Midwest City, Oklahoma, has a 14-yard gain.
Clock it.
They do clock it, but the clock ran out. Paul Smith saying there should be more time, 1 or 2 seconds.
Got to get the home clock.
And the Sooners are running to the locker room, trying to make it more difficult for the officials, psychologically perhaps, to put time back on the clock.
Yeah, the back judge keeps the time on the field.
Well, now he's blowing the whistle. I think he's going to bring the Sooners back.
2 seconds back on the game clock.
Time for one more play. And again, the back judge keeps the clock on the field. He did a full 35-yard sprint to say there's 1 second left, and from the naked eye here, I had an eye on the clock and the booth. It looked like the ball did hit the ground when there was 1 second left. Now they gave him 2.
And Jared Tracy, the field goal kicker, has a career long of 50. Confusion now on the sideline as a player runs on late, Trey Johnson. And they'll try to heave it in the end zone. They had 3 receivers to the right, but Smith is chased to the left and sacked by sacks in the half for the Sooners defense. There is a flag on the play. Thrown to the line of scrimmage. Illegal procedure. It is declined. So Oklahoma fell behind 7-0. A couple of big early plays for Tulsa, but they could not sustain it. Here's Joe Shad.
Coach, what pleases you most about the first half?
Well, offensively, we've been pretty solid. The first drive, we played pretty foolishly. Had some poor penalties. Some penalties have hurt us. And defensively, we just, we're letting some guys run past us. We got to do a better job staying on top of guys.
How are you handling their offense?
Well, some of the time pretty good when we stay on top of people. Right? The 2 big passes are a big deal.
Was there a mic issue there? Shit, I apologize.
Well, we're at halftime. It's Oklahoma 35 and Tulsa 14. Here's Dari Noka with the Olive Garden halftime report.
All right, guys, welcome into the Olive Garden halftime report. Dari Noka, along with my good friends Lou Holtz and Mark May. And 35-14, slow start for the Sooners. Just heard Bob Stoops, a little aggravated with his defense at times. But what are your first half impressions?
Oh, if you're in coach and you want to be the head coach at Oklahoma today, you're at 35-14. You got 350 yards total offense, and you want to strangle them. Why I say that's good is because next week you got your attention. You can be on them. You still played pretty well. But they're not just thinking about Tulsa. They're thinking about the national championship, I can assure you.
Well, this offensive line I've been very impressed with. They're averaging 322 pounds, and not only that, the guys are great technicians. They can all dance up front. They can knock you off the ball. I wanted to keep a close eye on Phil Lodeholt, the left tackle, because he's 6'8", 350-plus pounds. He can move like a lion. I'm very impressed with this offensive line.
Sooners up 35-14 after falling behind quickly 7.
And welcome back to ESPN2's College Football Prime Time. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you in high definition and presented by Pioneer Curo HD TV. Sooners taking the field for the start of the second half. They put on an offensive clinic in the first half, scoring 35 points. They had 349 yards of total offense, balanced. The big play potential displayed as well. Alan Patrick led the way. Sam Bradford did what he had to do, throwing for 2 scores, although he threw the ball just 16 times. Sean McDonough along with Chris Spielman. We keep wondering how good this Oklahoma team is. We thought this would be a pretty stern test tonight against a good Tulsa team. Oklahoma looks terrific again tonight.
Well, they do, and it's their balance, and they do it out of different formations. They'll do it out of 21 personnel with 2 backs. 1 tight end. They run 3 tight ends, 3 wides. They can hurt you a number of ways. And they proved to me, at least in this first half, Sean, when you talk about LSU, Florida, USC, and Oklahoma, those are interchangeable to me as far as #1 teams, and they're as good as anybody. Athletically, they're tremendous, especially their big people up front on both sides of the ball.
We talk about the balance. They rushed for 187, led by Alan Patrick's 130 yards. And Bradford threw for 162. Tulsa managed 266 yards of offense, but they're down 35-14. Off with Jared Hartley. Charles Davis from the goal line did not reach the 20, came up just shy. But we want to apologize at the end of the half. As Coach Stoops was going to the locker room, there was a word that should not made it onto the airways, but did. Caught in a microphone that was open inadvertently. And we apologize that you had to hear some language that certainly is not appropriate for our air and not up to ESPN's high standards. We regret it.
This is where Paul Smith, again, he's had some success. Not there. In the first half, he had success throwing the ball instead of running the ball.
Yeah, the numbers reflect it. They only ran for 2 yards, so of that 266 that I mentioned, 264 of it through the air. As Paul Smith was 16 out of 22 passing. He did throw 2 touchdown passes, but he also had a pick. And a sack 4 times. Gerald McCoy took him down on the first play of this half. Smith, and dodging bullets all night long, now throws it up for grabs, and it is incomplete. Intended for Charles Clay. John Williams, a defensive end, was downfield in coverage.
15 yards, first down.
Well, again, you talk about, certainly he's going to help Tulsa there, but you talk about the athleticism of the big people. Well, right there, there's a perfect example of it when you have John Williams running down there with a speedy running back in Clay. Now, Paul Williams, ill-advised throw. Granger gives him a little shot there. You got to be able to pull up and be disciplined. The big John Williams hanging with a running back down the field off of a zone blitz.
That's 6'5", 256. Downfield in coverage. After the penalty of 1st and 10. Terry Adams gets 11 more and another first down out to the 44-yard line. Adams says he likes this new offense. He says Gus Malzahn's play calling is aggressive and he likes it. And he said because of the spread, you spread the defenders out, you get those defenders out of the box. He feels as a running back, it's easier for him to run.
Well, it can be. And that's if you get a hat on the big people. And right there, Tulsa's young offensive line did a good job of shielding off the massiveness of the Oklahoma defenders.
First rushing first down of the game for Tulsa. Jamad Williams for a yard, tackled by Ryan Reynolds.
So ideally, Gus Malzahn was talking about getting the play in the ball snap 5 seconds when the whistle for play by the white hat goes. Tulsa wanted to slow it down a little bit tonight just to give their defense a break.
2nd and 9, a little screen. Look out, Trey Johnson can run. And he runs all the way inside the 20-yard line. Collared by Nick Harris. 36 yards on the game for Tulsa.
Good. Paul Smith does a nice job of looking at one way, hitting the screen, and set up well, and you're getting people downfield when you have your offensive lineman down there getting blocks for you in speed by Terrian. Good rack. Screen pass, getting it going.
Five receivers now. Smith pump fake and couldn't find anybody. Now he's going to run. A little fluty-esque there. He took a shot in the back from Ryan Reynolds. At the 11-yard line. Reynolds, a key part of this defense. He's battled a lot of knee injuries. But Brent Venable says he's mature as any linebacker I have ever coached.
And made the interception in the first half. And right there, if I'm Paul Smith, what I want to do is go feet first on my slide. You got to protect yourself as far as your head. And Reynolds did nothing but go down and meet him at contact. And Paul Smith, when he does take the dive, which he should, he's too valuable to his football team to take hits like that. Go ahead and take a feet first dive. Protect yourself.
John Williams a little slow to get up for Oklahoma. Paul Smith now at even 300 yards passing. Coming off his career high 454 last week. He's against BYU.
Yeah, he's a warrior, Sean. He's a good player. I mean, he makes this offense go, and Gus Malzahn was talking about that he didn't have to worry about the quarterback. He was just worried about coaching the wide receivers and running back.
2nd and 2. Terry Adams. A little extra effort might have gotten him the first down inside the 10-yard line. Adams, a psychology major, says he'd like to be a high school counselor.
Yeah, we offered him to get some experience on us.
Yeah,
the counseling experience.
On this crew. He's a junior from Moore, Oklahoma. Like many of these Tulsa players, said he came to Tulsa because it was the only major college scholarship offer that he had.
I've been impressed with him, not only his running ability, catching, but he's done a good job of blocking and pass protection and getting out on screens and becoming the lead blocker. He's a tough football player.
And again, they'll use a timeout early. It hurt them late in the first half when they had burned all their timeouts in the first quarter. With a big third down and less than a yard upcoming for the Golden Hurricane. And Paul Smith is a very interesting young man. He is a communications major, says someday he'd like to work for ESPN on the air if possible, but he also got a little taste of what it was like in our production truck yesterday off the air.
About to come back from commercial, guys. Let's focus. Let's focus. Warren, I like that shot you got. Still on the 50-yard line. That looks good. So let's get Dwayne to get a new close-up of that offensive lineman who was holding. They didn't get that call. Audio, bring it up a little bit in the back. Bring it up. I can't even hear you. What's going on? Is anybody working? Unbelievable. Are you doing anything? No. Okay. Absolutely great. Seems like it's always going that way. All right. Well, my time here is done, guys. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like just about every other producer we ever worked with at ESPN.
It fit right in.
Yeah, he looked very comfortable. Obviously, the natural leadership skills. First down on the keeper. They list him at 6'2", 200 pounds. He might be a little smaller than that. But he also works for the campus TV station, TU-TV. And that's really where his larger interests are, as an on-air person.
After football, he wants to work for ESPN.
Yeah, he wants to be on this side of it, if at all possible. Faked it. Yeah. Guys in the truck are saying that's a smart move on his part.
Ball start, 70 on the offense, 5 yards, first down.
Well, let's see his work on the air on TU-TV.
$9.99, and that's 1,000. Hello again, and welcome to week 3 of Paul's Picks. This week we're here inside the weight room at TU, where I obviously spend a lot of time.
That's who is as obvious as Paul Picks. Here's Terrion Adams bouncing off Ryan Reynolds and spinning down to the 4-yard line. He's a very likable young man of considerable religious faith. Said was handed down from his parents. He is the president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes chapter on this campus. Every week leads a praise and worship session for between 50 and 100 athletes on the campus. Plays the guitar.
He's a leader. He's a natural leader. And
yes,
you can tell that when he walks in the room, his players follow him, and that carries over off the field.
High snap. He handled it. Didn't get much, perhaps a yard. I'll tell you what, he's tough, too. He's taking some shots and hanging in there. He's married. Married Krista Barker about 6 months ago. She was a 4-year starter on the soccer team. Said he showed up for the beginning of his freshman year. They had a luncheon for the incoming athletes. He knew a girl from his high school who was on the soccer team. The soccer team was in uniform because they had to go out on the field. He said, "Who's number 4?" He got the introduction to Krista, and now they're married. Short pass, nowhere near the end zone. Jake Collins, the tight end, stopped again by Ryan Reynolds.
Jake Collins had the open there, Sean. He just misread the blockers. He had 2 blockers out in front of him. If he would have headed for the sideline toward the pylon, he might have snuck it in there. He just cut back a little bit too quick. He should have been a little bit patient to set up that blocking scheme. 4th down, I like the fact they're going for it. They know they need points, and 3 points against this offense of Oklahoma, not going to get it done.
And a good drive to open the half. Will they score? 4th and goal from the 3. Smith under duress. Lunges for the end zone. Touchdown. A great move to shed Nick Harris near the line of scrimmage. And he went lunging into the end zone to get them back within 2 touchdowns.
Nearly a 5.5-minute drive to begin the half by Tulsa.
Yeah, this is a short yardage goal line play they were working on yesterday, and the idea is to give your athlete and your best player on your football team the run pass option. Made the right decision, and you saw the determination in the effort to stretch it past the orange line on the field.
Yeah, a line that they should paint. It's hard for everybody to see. 81-yard drive and 11 plays to begin the half for Tulsa. H.A. Chapman family helped renovate the stadium, a process that will continue as soon as this season is over. DeMarco Murray, the kickoff return. Sidestep Drake, the kicker, and he will go. 81 yards, touchdown, Oklahoma.
Well, that's why they're 91st in kickoff coverage. When you can't kick it deep and you don't kick it high, it puts a lot of pressure when you're running from the 30-yard line. DeMarco Murray's got full head of steam catching the ball in between the 20 and the 30. And you can see where his instincts has a running back take over. And right there, one-on-one shot. Young kicker doesn't have a chance, and speed takes over.
First kickoff return for a touchdown this season for Oklahoma. Joaquin Iglesias brought one back last year in November against Baylor. There's Hartley's kick up and good. They can hurt you in so many ways. It's going to be a while before their offense gets on the field here in the second half. And that's demoralizing for Tulsa. They got within 2 scores, a little bit of hope on that sideline, and that hope perhaps very quickly extinguished by DeMarco Murray, redshirt freshman out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah, and the vision and the natural running ability, and that's why you love to have running backs if you can afford to. Oklahoma has the depth to be your kick returners. When you have speed like that and the vision, he gets in the open field. It's a done deal. And it's not like Todd Graham doesn't recognize the fact that they're 91st in the country. Again, I was here Wednesday at practice. 45 minutes were spent on special teams, and 40 of those were spent on kickoff coverage. And it's just tough because they're trying to do it with their starters, and those starters getting beat down as the game wears on. That's where you have the lack of depth that Tulsa has to deal with that Oklahoma doesn't have to deal with.
And his special teams have been a great weapon under Stoops. He saw DeMarco Murray in high school at Las Vegas when he was out there recruiting Ryan Reynolds. Murray was in the gym dunking basketballs acrobatically, and as Stoops was walking through the gym, he saw that, and he told the coach, when it's the right time, we'll be back to recruit this young man too. Charles Davis got knocked down after a 22-yard return. Let's go back before the game. Tonight's Coach Talk presented by Liberty Mutual.
Heart of a champion tonight. Play every play. Make sure you don't miss your play. Heart of a champion, hold the rope. Let's go take it. This is our time. We're meant to be here. Turn it loose and let it out. Let's get it done. Grab a hand.
One guy that's turning it loose is his quarterback, and Paul Smith. A lot of NFL scouts are walking around here, and they're very impressed with his toughness, his ability to make a lot of good throws, different throws. Away from his body, setting up. Any type of throw you want him to make, he's made it tonight in the spotlight.
Charles Clay stopped immediately by Alonzo Dotson, the nephew of the former Packers standout Santana Dotson. Smith, the son of a coach, bounced around at a couple different high schools here in Oklahoma as his dad switched coaching jobs. Sophomore year at Deer Creek in Edmond, Oklahoma. Junior and senior year just about 15 minutes from here at Owasso. His dad is now at Bartlesville, about 45 minutes north of here. And Ron Smith is here tonight. A lot of the high schools in this area moved their games to Thursday night.
77 offense, 5 yards, second down.
So it would not compete with this game. I realize they lose a lot of fans to OU and TU. 7 penalties now against Tulsa.
This stadium is going to be renovated. They're going to spend about $24 million. Actually reduced the capacity from near 40,000 to about 30,000 that they have at the bottom of Conference USA in home attendance, but I think it's big enough. It'll be comparable to the stadiums in Houston and at SMU. Nice strike thrown by Smith on the money to Trey Johnson. And another big gainer, 37 yards and a first down for the Golden Hurricane.
There's the patience of Paul Smith and trusting his linemen. I can't say enough for the young offensive lineman of Tulsa, stepping up to the challenge and for the most part doing a good job, because this route takes a long time to develop, and Johnson's coming all the way across, and boy, Paul Smith again impressing with his arm strength.
He was not highly recruited. He thought he was going to get an offer from Penn State. He had been to their camps, was disappointed when it did not come. When Steve Cragthorpe got the job here, one of the first things he did was recruit Paul Smith. So he stayed close to home and helped Cragthorpe turn it around. Before Steve Cragthorpe got here, they were coming off back-to-back 1-10 seasons. Under Cragthorpe, 3 bowl games in the last 4 years and the Conference USA Championship. Charles Clay, another reception. Austin English and Marcus Walker, the tackle. A couple of yards short of the first down at the 38-yard line of Oklahoma.
That's what I'd do if I was Charles Clay. I'd get a tighter fitting jersey, because there's been a number of times tonight, Sean, being very serious about this, where they're catching Charles Clay by the jersey when he's past it. Or get some tape. Tape it onto them pads and tape it onto your gut.
Tulsa with a big edge here in the second half. Tulsa with the edge in total yardage. Of course, that's skewed by the kickoff return for a touchdown. It kept Oklahoma off the field. Quick throw to Dion Tolliver. Junior from Riverside, California, has a first down. Tackled by Curtis Lofton. 7 yards on the gain. First catch tonight for Tolliver, his 6th of the year.
I love the fight in this Tulsa football team, and it's a reflection of Todd Graham and the coaching staff when you come out and you keep fighting and fighting and fighting, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Fake option look, and Smith almost threw an interception. DJ Wolf saw that one coming. He ran right in front of Dion Tolliver but couldn't hang on.
That time Paul was reading corner, and DJ Wolf brought over by the play action fake. On the option, DJ Wolf playing center field has a great break on the ball. Now turn a good play into great play, DJ. Go up with your hands, turn the other way, not be a body catcher, and you still might be running, young man.
Former running back, also put cornerback, now a safety. Adams could not break out of that tackle of Ryan Reynolds. You can see with his performance tonight why Brent Venables says they are a much better defense when Ryan Reynolds is in there.
And again, Reynolds been outstanding. Their front four, I've always said this, Sean, if the front four is as good as Oklahoma's, the linebackers are going to shine. Lofton had 10 tackles heading into the half, and Reynolds isn't too far behind.
Out of the gun on 3rd down and 7 from the 28-yard line. Getting down towards 6 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. And some confusion, it seems. They try to get this play lined up. Oklahoma leads 42-21. Smith throws deep. This one is intercepted. And he home stepped in front of the receiver. Second pick thrown tonight by Paul Smith. And the first interception of the year for the junior from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, Paul Smith is going down and talking to Johnson, his young freshman wide receiver. It's a skinny post versus cover 2. And you'll see Holmes get his depth as a safety. Right here, he's getting depth, which allows him to make a break on the ball, and he stopped his route. Paul Johnson is going to throw to the hash mark. He's got to run to the hash mark and cut off the safety. Holmes said, no, that's my ball. I take it away.
Oklahoma with its first offensive snap of the second half comes with 5:50 left in the 3rd quarter. They lead 42-21. They have scored in this half on the kickoff return for a touchdown by DeMarco Murray. Alan Patrick, the lone back behind Sam Bradford. And on a loss pass as he's smothered back near the 6-yard line. Patrick ran for 130 and a couple of scores in the first half. Odin Hopkins drove him back on that play.
This is where Oklahoma can obviously seize control of this football game. Alan Patrick's been impressive, Sean. Just getting the full-time duty, and you see he relishes that. And another guy, with the depth that they have, the more carries he gets, the stronger he gets, because he knows he has his buddies that won't miss a beat when they come in the ball game.
Bradford, nice quick throw. Boy, Iglesias is impressive the more you watch him play. Charles Davis made the tackle. 6th catch for Iglesias for an even 100 yards receiving. And 123 yards receiving last week against Utah State.
See the Tulsa defenders, especially the cornerback position. Charles Davis got hurt a little bit in the first half when he bit up on that hitch, but it was a hitch and go. That time was just a hitch. Charles Davis was just a tad late on breaking on that football.
This is the 3rd 100-yard receiving game in 4 games now for Iglesias. He also went over 100 in the opener against North Texas. Patrick out to the 29-yard line. Alan Karatapian and Nelson Coleman made the tackle. 9-yard run for Patrick. I think the scary thing for future Oklahoma opponents, the only 2 seniors on the offense who see considerable time are the tight end Joe John Finley, and they do have Gresham and Brody Eldridge who share time with him, and Alan Patrick. And of course they have Murray and Chris Brown. He'll be back next year. They'll miss those 2 guys, but they have plenty at their possession. 10 more for Patrick before he was chopped down by Kenny D. Sims.
Well, it's all about getting a hat on a hat, and when you have a guy that has this burst right there through the hole and not getting touched until he gets to the safety, dominance is starting to take over. And it's really, Tulsa's trying, and her effort is great. It's just when you get a hat on a hat in those big bodies, you can't do anything about it. They're too big and they stick on you. You're done.
And Sam Bradford again efficiently leading this offense. There's the swing pass. And it's Iglesias again. There's a flag down on the play as Iglesias went out of bounds very near the first down marker at midfield.
Get Malcolm Kelly for holding here.
4 on the offense, 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
They've actually done a good job against Kelly. We look at our TiVo combo to watch. Kelly has just 2 of those 16 receptions for the year tonight, 2 for 27. Iglesias has been the main target tonight with 6 catches, and that one comes back because of the penalty. But Malcolm Kelly is a stud, and he was not even first team all Big 12 at the wide receiver position. That got a lot of the attention. Darius Bowman, flying the suite of Texas, the other first team all-conference preseason selection. Chris Brown weaves his way out to the 42. 11 yards on the run for Brown.
You and I had a chance to watch a little bit of a highlight film of Malcolm Kelly yesterday when we were breaking down the film. And the thing about him is his size. And when he catches the ball, he has that gift of that extra gear. A lot of time, big receivers at 220 pounds, they don't have that extra gear. Malcolm Kelly will catch and finish. And it's tough to bring down a 220-pound guy that's running a 4.4. So the ability with the run after catch, he's still just a tad raw in his running of his routes, but he's getting better and better, and he's going to just be a tremendous football player. And whatever he does as far as his future, it's only going to be bright. And his ability is amazing. I like the fact, too, he catches the ball with his hands and not a body snatcher.
Odin Hopkins helped off. Well, that comes from his dad. Malcolm Kelly says when he played football as a kid, played catch with his dad, Moses. You see Michael Crabtree, the only receiver in the country with more touchdowns. Moses used to throw him the ball underhanded because Malcolm Kelly used to catch the ball up against his body.
Yep.
And he said, throw it to me overhand like you do to everybody else. He said, well, as soon as you learn how to catch the ball in your hands, I'll throw it to you overhand. So Dad started to throw it overhand. Kelly became a great hands catcher. He has enormous hands, the biggest on the team. They thought Brian Simmons, an offensive lineman at over 300 pounds, might have bigger hands, but they compared hand size. Kelly's hands bigger. They asked him if his hands had been measured. He said no, but they're huge. He said it really helps me surround the ball when they throw it to me.
Well, yeah, and his dad knows what he's doing. Another coaching point, and I did this with my kids, and I do it with my Little League kids. You want a kid to catch a ball with his hands, throw the ball at his head, because the hands got to come up. So I started throwing balls at the kid's head. Their hands got to come up or they get shots to the head.
Marco Murray, the last carry. Now it's 3rd down and 6. Destin single coverage on Kelly, bottom of your screen. Bradford looks there and finds him. That is not a matchup that Tulsa wants, but that's the way they lined up. And Oklahoma converts on 3rd down and 6. And give Bradford credit. This young man is well prepared. He saw the matchup they wanted out there, and that was no contest, 21 yards.
Yeah, you see it right there, defeating the bump and run. Destin doesn't have the strength to keep up with Kelly, but the other thing is Destin could have helped himself by position alone. If you're going to be playing man, rule number 1, take away the inside, make him work the short side of the field to make the long throw. Don't give him the slant. Easy pitch and catch.
Kelly's on pace to break Mark Clayton's receiving records. Chris Brown almost took it all the way. Stumbled down just inside the 20, a gain of 16. And the Sooners picking it up in big chunks here on their first possession of the second half. They're down to 2:19 left in the third quarter. Oklahoma leading 42-21, and Chris Chamberlain, yet another Tulsa defender, down on the field.
Chris Chamberlain is another guy they can't afford to lose. They lost Rory Roberts, their best cover corner, early in the ball game. Had some nicks. Chris Chamberlain's playing his heart out tonight, giving everything he has, but it gets demoralizing if you're a defender and they're approaching 300 yards rushing.
Chamberlain, a senior from Bethany, Oklahoma. Of course, Oklahoma trying to make a strong case. Here at the top of the rankings, ranked number 4 this week. LSU's number 2. Many believe they should be number 1. They have a big home game tomorrow against South Carolina. The Gamecocks are 3-0, led by the defense, allowing under 10 points per game, 8th best in the country. Those two teams don't play very often. They've met only 5 times since South Carolina joined the SEC in 1992.
You almost get the feeling that when LSU and USC and Oklahoma play in Florida, they're all making a vote, and it's like, who do you watch last to say who's the best team in the country? Because I'm watching this Oklahoma football team tonight, and I can't imagine much teams better until I watch LSU play, Florida play, or SC play. By the way, West Virginia knocking on the door.
Marco Murray, the carry, knocked back. And Steve Spurrier says he voted LSU number 1 in the poll this week as he gets ready to face them in Baton Rouge. Tenth play of this possession for Sam Bradford. I just don't know where the weakness is on this Oklahoma team. When you go position group by position group, they're great players everywhere.
Well, you'd like to say the kicking position, but the field goal kicker only missed 1 field goal last year.
Yeah, they're really good everywhere. Manuel Johnson the catch. Nice tackle by John Destin at the 17-yard line. Here's Joe.
Sean, talking about LSU, you know, Les Miles said this week during his weekly press conference, if you root for LSU, don't give out any injury information that does not come out of my mouth. I'm sorry, Les, but Matt Flynn is going to start tomorrow at quarterback despite an ankle injury, and Early Doucette, the wide receiver, is going to miss the game with a lower abdomen injury. Sorry, Les.
The point, I guess, was if you cover the team,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of have an obligation to the team you cover not to reveal injury information. I'm not sure Les exactly understands how the media work. Corner of the end zone. Caught. Was he inbounds? No. Malcolm Kelly across the sideline. With Charles Davis in coverage.
But what a throw. I mean, you're talking about you can only put it one place in between the corner and the safety. Well, he threw it. And again, that comes from throwing with anticipation, trusting where your receiver is going to be before he comes out of the break. And that's on Malcolm. Malcolm's too good of an athlete and a receiver not to have the field awareness to have the tootsies in play.
Just barely on that sideline.
You got to know it.
And Garrett Hartley, again another strength of this team. One of the 3 finalists for the Lou Groza Award as the best kicker in the country last year. He's made 14 field goals in a row, and right on cue, wide left. He was 3 for 3 this year, made his last 11 last year. Wide left from 34 yards, it's still 42-21 OU. It is the smallest school in Division 1A. Trey Johnson couldn't catch the pass. And it is ruled incomplete. He chased after thinking it might be a lateral. Matter of fact, in the last 2 seasons, Todd Graham has been the head coach at each of the 2 smallest Division 1A schools. He was at Rice last year with 3,100 or so. And now here at Tulsa. He really believes they have a lot of what they need here to be, as he says, the next Louisville, the next Boise State, or mid-major school. At least Louisville was for a while, now in the Big East.
He has a commitment by the administration, and that's what any football coach wants. If you want a commitment, you're willing to spend the dollars, that'll certainly help you and give you a shot to compete. That's all you want as a head football coach, is you want to have the finances and the facilities to be able to compete.
Shot that Alonzo Dodson delivered. That's the view from the new Case Athletic Complex, a $10 million football building to our left in the end zone. That opened this year. They used to have rickety facilities in a gymnasium across the street. Now they have very nice offices and a Hall of Fame in the Case Athletic Complex. End of 3 quarters in Tulsa. Paul Smith and the Golden Hurricane down by 20. Back inside H.A. Chapman Stadium, the Case Athletic Complex. For the start of the 4th quarter, number 4 Oklahoma trying to go to 4-0 against 2-0 Tulsa. Hurricane down by 21, and their hopes dim as Nick Harris has the interception. Off the ricochet, 3rd interception of the night for Oklahoma. Their 11th takeaway in 4 games. It was intended for Ted Curtis, a tight end.
That's the second bad decision that Paul Smith has made tonight. Oklahoma capitalizes, trying to force something that's not there. He's got great legs. He can run the football. Your team needs yards. Go ahead and trust your feet instead of making a difficult throw across your body.
We're going to review to see if Harris caught it. It will be his 2nd interception of the year. He returned one, 24 yards for a touchdown in the opener against North Texas. On their way to 79 points. Oklahoma has scored at least 51 in each of their first 3 games. And let's take a look and see if, in fact, Nick Harris did catch it before it hit turf. I'm not sure. That doesn't look like possession. Looks like it's wobbling around.
Well, you can see his right hand was laid on the ball. Good job by Nick of selling it. And it's a credit to Oklahoma's defense. They started out a little bit slow, but when you get interceptions, one that probably will be called back, but Reynolds had one earlier on a deflection. That tells me you have great pursuit by your back 7 running to the football. Nick, again, Sean, it just amazes me the talent level at every position that Oklahoma has and the depth that they have. Makes it tough for anybody that's an opponent of theirs.
Take another look at it from another angle. That looked to be the best angle you could hope to see. The first one we saw And Harris looking right at the camera, essentially. And it looked like he did not have possession of the ball as it wobbled around on the ground a bit. Here's that angle again. Yeah, that ball's not in his possession. He's still trying to get it in. It's on the ground.
You see his right hand was late coming over to secure the football.
Curtis Lofton helped tip it.
He's a player now. Curtis Lofton is a player, replacing a pretty darn good player when Rufus Alexander is with the Minnesota Vikings now, recovering from a knee injury. But I know
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The ball hit the ground. It's an incomplete pass. It'll be 4th down, 7-yard line, 7 yards on the 23-yard line.
Well, that's how replay should work. Well done by all involved in the booth upstairs and on the field. Punt safe, says Bob Stoops. And a much needed break for Todd Graham and Tulsa. Although they're going to have to punt on 4th down with Michael Such out there to punt. He was at Nebraska last year as a non-recruited walk-on. Did not play in a game, then transferred here to Tulsa this year.
Yeah, they're looking over here. They do have a fake in. But when Stoops is aware of that, his radar's up. He's been around a long time, calling the punt safe, as you pointed out, Sean.
Such won a derby in the preseason from Paul Jurado to be their punter. Reggie Smith caught it at the 35. Looking for some running room. We talked to him the other day, said the key to being a return man, patience and vision. And he demonstrated both on that run back. Waited patiently for some kind of alley to reveal itself, and he brought it back 27 yards after a 42-yard punt. Chris Chamberlain made the tackle. Yesterday, in anticipation of this game, Dennis Byrd was here with the team. Part of their day before the game walk the length of the field holding hands. Dennis Byrd, of course, an All-American player here for Tulsa in their Hall of Fame. Great lineman in the late 80s. Number 7 all-time here in tackles. Unfortunately, best known for his time with the New York Jets when he suffered a paralyzing spinal cord injury in 1992. An injury many thought he would not recover from. And as you can see, he is walking and functioning very well. Functioning very well is Iglesias again, breaking tackles to score. 40 yards for the touchdown. Second for Iglesias tonight. His 8th catch for 142 yards receiving. We're talking about Malcolm Kelly being the best receiver in the country. Maybe he's not even the best receiver on his own team.
Well, Iglesias came into the game as the leading receiver, but 0 touchdowns. And again, the power and the skill of the receivers for Oklahoma and the run after catch just continues to amaze. And Iglesias wants to get on the action with Malcolm as far as touchdown catches. He's catching up.
Faber, Destin, Germany couldn't get him down. The try for point fails. That's been one blemish for Oklahoma. Charles Davis got in there to block it. They've now missed 3 PATs already this year. Showed you Dennis Byrd. We're happy to tell you he's here tonight as the honorary captain, and he is standing by with Joe Shad.
And Dennis, you had a chance to talk to the entire team yesterday. What message do you want these young men to hear from you?
Well, I think the most important thing was for these young men to understand that who they are, what their place is in the tapestry of time that is the University of Tulsa. This is our 999th game. For 107 years we've been playing football. 77 of those have been on this field. And tonight, the guys like myself that come back from 20, 25 years ago, we link ourselves forever with these young men. We were talking to them about the importance of understanding that they make a part of history every time they step onto this football field.
How do you try to relay your amazing personal journey to the kids? How can that help them?
Well, I think a great deal of it is just obvious. You know, they can see that there's a man that has a struggle, but he has an undying will and a will that just doesn't want to quit. And I think a great deal of that is just seen. But then whenever I get to verbalize the things that are important to me and the things that they need to know as young men, time, maturity has a lot to do for what a man has to say. And I thank the Lord that I've had the opportunity to spend some time with these young men and share with them some of the lessons I've learned.
Dennis, if you had a chance to talk to the injured
Buffalo Bills player Kevin Everett, what would you let him know?
Well, I want Kevin to know for sure that there are millions of people in this country that love him, adore him, and that are praying for him every day. And I want to tell him, Kevin, I can't wait to see you on your feet. I can't wait to see your recovery. God bless you, and we're praying for you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Wow, so eloquently stated, and I think it is Dennis Bird's amazing recovery that has given a lot of people like Kevin Everett hope, and obviously the advances in medicine as well. People like Nick Bonacani and what he's done with the Miami Project deserve an awful lot of credit. But I think Kevin Bird was one of the few success stories for a devastating spinal injury. To see where he is now, when it first happened to Kevin Everett, it looked like he might die. And now they're talking about all the things he's going to be able to do, perhaps as close to normal a life as he could have ever hoped to have had, given what happened to him.
Well, credit to the Buffalo Bills staff, and those doctors worked on me when I had my neck injury and their whole training staff. But, Kevin Everett can look not only to Dennis Bird, who's a fine example, but also to Adam Telefero, the cornerback young kid at Penn State that got hurt in Ohio State, and Reggie Brown, the defensive player, the linebacker for the Detroit Lions that got injured and thought to be paralyzed but was able to walk again. So there are success stories. And to me, the news about Kevin Everett being able to walk, Sean, it was so encouraging. I had a little bout of paralysis myself twice on the football field, which ultimately ended my career. So I know the scary feeling that Kevin and his family went through. And I'm just glad that he's able to walk. And what better spokesman than Dennis Bird, also a player that I played with, and Mike Utley. Mike hasn't regained the use of his legs, but Mike lives a full life, and it's a tremendous inspiration to a lot of people out there.
He has a great attitude when you see him interviewed. Unfortunately, when circumstances like these arise, I noticed your occasional paralysis kicked in last night at dinner when the check came. And all of a sudden, you had a little tough time moving toward the bill.
Well, you got all the money, kid.
A lot of fakes by Smith. And by the time he finished them, they were right on his heels. 5th sack for Oklahoma. Credit Steve Coleman with that one. Austin English also in the neighborhood.
It's a miscommunication. I think Paul Smith went the wrong way. When I see 5 big hogs go to the right, Paul goes to the left, and there's no help over there. Paul might have got a little bit confused. Anyway, whoever was wrong, either the whole offensive line or Paul, miscommunication usually leads to a defensive play by English.
And Dennis Bird talked to these players about understanding their place in the history of Tulsa football, and he surely knew his facts. This is the 999th game all time. There haven't been a lot of big seasons in recent years, but this is a program with a rich tradition. It's featured some great players, some players who went on to become very successful coaches. Good spin move by Jamad Williams. Tulsa was the first school to play in 5 straight New Year's Day bowl games. They did that back in the 40s. They have 3 former players who were enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame: Bob St. Clair, the late great Jim Finks, and Steve Largent. 2 of their players finished as runner-up for the Heisman Trophy. Howard Twilley was the leader in the nation in receiving in 1965, played it for the Dolphins, and Jerry Rome, the fine quarterback the year before.
Also, a famous coach by the name of Francis Schmidt, who coached at Ohio State, who coined the phrase, they put their pants on one leg at a time like you do, and what came to the tradition of the gold pants in the Ohio State-Michigan game.
Reggie Smith back for the punt. 4 former Tulsa players are head coaches in the NFL, including Lovie Smith right now. Ray Rhodes, Sam Rutigliano, Tommy Hudspeth all played here at Tulsa. They do have a football tradition. 36-yard punt, 25-yard return. Isn't it great to see Dennis Bird looking so well here tonight? 24 tomorrow during the 3:30 games on ABC and ESPN2, counting all the way down to number 1 over the course of the season. Ernie Nevers, the first, number 25 in our top 25 countdown. Chris Brown runs for nearly 10 down inside the 20. I wish the voting hadn't already been done by that Blue Ribbon panel, because I want to lobby for my friend and partner, Chris Spielman, Ohio State star linebacker, 2-time All-American in the late 80s, winner of the 1987 Lombardi Award, 283 solo tackles in his career. Who can forget the 29 tackles against Michigan in 1986? It remains the most tackles in the lengthy history of that rivalry.
Yeah, that means they had the ball too much. That's all that means.
Did you guys lose that game?
Lost on a field goal kicker, missed the field goal.
Oh.
Is that what you mean? Not that I think about it much.
No, not that we have any disdain for field goal kickers. And very
scary,
very handsome photo. Yeah.
You like the mustache?
We're still in prime time. I won't use the phrase that comes to mind to describe the stash. But it was, as Bill Rafter would say, effective.
Yeah, it was.
Of all the things you accomplished, seriously, what were you most proud of?
Well, I think the win at Michigan when Coach Bruce was fired. He was fired the week before the Michigan game, and our team went up there and weren't going to a bowl game. Everything was kind of lost, disappointing season. Yet we were able to pull it together for Coach Bruce to send him out a winner.
Ooh, Brown slid down to avoid the contact and got belted by John Destin. Well, he went into the baseball slide, and he did not get out of the way of that hit. Looked like he took a shot right in the head.
Yeah, I don't know if he hit his head on the way down and hit the turf, and he lost his footing, so he became vulnerable and wasn't able to deliver a blow and protect himself. Once he slipped, the defender came and whacked him good, and I don't know if his head bounced off the turf or not.
Bob Stoops going to come out to check on his sophomore running back. Okay, slowing down. And that looked like his feet started to go out from under him a little bit. He just got hit right in the head. This will give you a greater sense of the impact at full speed. John Destin the hit, 10 carries, 65 yards for Brown, as they have now rushed 500 yards for the game, which if it ended right here would bring their average down. And their scoring
That's something, isn't it?
Yeah, they still have 13 points to go to get to their scoring average. Happy to say Chris Brown walked off the field under his own power, clearly a little wobbly. He took quite a shot to the head and then also banged his head on the field turf here. My goodness. It also looked like at the beginning of that play he got grabbed by the face mask. There was no flag for that.
He got a little bit of that horse collar by Nelson Coleman, came and turned his head. And Destin's just trying to deliver the blow and leading with his shoulder. Didn't lead with his head, but he caught him as he was slipping. Once you lose your momentum, then you become vulnerable to the big hit, which was delivered.
And DeMarco Murray, the tailback, Ian Pleasant, the fullback. Murray follows Pleasant, and that wasn't close. No one got near DeMarco Murray. He scores. It's 54-21 with just under 10 minutes to go.
Well, and we talked about Geshem and his pass blocking ability, but he's becoming a total package football player at 6'5", 250. Took Karatapian and just walled him inside, drove him off the ball, had the hands inside, wanted a holding call, but didn't get it. He's a good-looking football player, too, and I can see why Coach Wilson talks about his tight ends.
Yeah. Murray, 2 rushing touchdowns and a kickoff return for a score. And Hartley makes this extra point. 55-21. Let's get a preview of Monday Night Football. Here's Mike Tirico.
Vince Young is dynamic and exciting and has brought the energy back to the Titans franchise. Drew Brees had a dream season in 2006, but now he and Reggie Bush try to find the Saints' magic as they return home. Saints-Titans, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN's Monday Night Football.
First national television game for Vince Young as an NFL player. And boy, the Saints, they were a trendy pick to be a Super Bowl team. It's only 0-2. There's a long way to go, but they have had a disappointing start.
Well, you talked about it, and Coach Davey was talking about it the whole second quarter, about if you want to be able to be an effective football player, especially a football team in the NFL, you got to be able to run the ball. And Deuce McAllister is only averaging about 48 yards per game, where he's a guy that needs to get his touches and carries. Then you have to get Reggie Bush involved. If Reggie Bush isn't involved, you neutralize Deuce McAllister, you become one-dimensional, then it's easy to play defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and other teams are doing a better job now of taking Reggie Bush away in the passing game. And they're still a fun team to watch. Be great atmosphere down there. Monday Night Football, the Titans and the Saints.
Vince Young is a fun player to watch, and really just a special athlete playing the quarterback position with his ability to run. Certainly has the ability to go for 1,000 yards as a quarterback.
Charles Davis brings back the Hartley kickoff. They're not very far to the 21. When we spoke with Bob Stoops the other day, he talked about how good his kickoff team has been and how good his return game has been. We've seen that again tonight. They've returned a kickoff for a touchdown. They've had a couple of long punt returns by Brown. He mentioned in the Miami game, Miami kicked off to his team 4 times, and Oklahoma's average starting field position after that was the 36-yard line, where Oklahoma kicked off 9 times to Miami, and Miami's average start was the 21-yard line.
What's the speed on their special teams, and they're all fresh. Unlike Tulsa, who has to play a lot of their starters on special teams because of the lack of depth, Oklahoma just brings in athlete after athlete, and they're all running down there trying to earn playing time by the way they play on special teams and cover kicks.
David Johnson, the backup quarterback in the game, junior from Portland, Oregon. They won't subject Smith to any more punishment. And DeMarcus Granger made the tackle. There's a look at Johnson at 6'3", 217 pounds.
It's actually not a bad move by Coach Graham, getting ready for conference play. Just in case, knock on wood, something happens to small Paul Smith. You have Johnson in there with some game time experience.
He's a capable backup. Played in 11 career games prior to tonight. Got into 5 ball games last year. And he follows the play as Shamad Williams carried, and DeMarcus Granger made the tackle again. Here's Joe Shad.
Sean, obviously the Oklahoma trainers have asked tailback Chris Brown a series of concussion-related questions. They're checking to see if he has a head injury, and thus far it seems that Chris Brown is responding in a manner that they are satisfied with.
Again, very cautious when dealing with concussions. It's kind of unusual, the Detroit Lions situation where John Kitna was diagnosed with a concussion last week, Sean, and usually if that's it with the precautions that the NFL is taking, he was allowed back into the ball game. And I trust the Detroit Lions doctors. I worked with a lot of those guys. They know what they're doing, and they all have, at least they told me face-to-face, Chris, my loyalty is to you, not to the Detroit Lions. So I'm sure that he must have passed a series of tests like Chris Brown is going through just to be able to get back into that ball game, and was the difference maker in their win over the Vikings.
Cody Madison couldn't catch the pass from Johnson, who gets a pat on the helmet from Paul Smith. Of course, in recent years, there's been a lot more attention paid to concussions, the damage done, the cumulative effect, how it can alter your life later in life. Paul Jurado in to punt this time, and he booms one. Such's punts weren't very good. And Jurado gets a chance. Didn't get very lucky on that bounce, but it's still all the way to the 31 for a 49-yard punt. There's a flag down back at the line of scrimmage.
It's going to be on Tulsa. They weren't set at the line of scrimmage.
Multiple players moving, didn't get set before the snap. On the offense, 5 yards, re-kick, 4th down.
You know, I would almost think if I'm Coach Stoops that I know how valuable Reggie Smith is to this ball club, that he has some probably young guys that would like an opportunity. Maybe you're thinking about trying to throw somebody else in there.
I think that would be a very good idea. You get your best player on defense hurt, at least according to the preseason Big 12 poll. Reggie Smith was the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year on defense. We asked him about that. He said, yeah, I was surprised. I really didn't feel like I'd done that much the last couple of years. He's now a junior from Edmond, Oklahoma, making his 27th career start tonight. He's done it with the punt return game, but you certainly wouldn't want to lose this guy to an injury. With under 8 minutes to go. Pretty clear face mask. Every official on the field threw the flag, and if the fans had one, they all would have thrown one too. -3 on the return. Brennan Marion might have been guilty of the face mask after a 44-yard punt by Jurado.
To a foul, face mask, number 4 on the kicking team. 15 yards from the end of the run, first down. Timeout.
With 7:54 to go, 55-21, Oklahoma. New quarterback now for Oklahoma. Joey Halsley is into the game. Moses Madu gets the handoff. They're going a little deeper down the depth chart. They like Halsley, the junior from Huntington Beach, California. In fact, Kevin Wilson said, the numbers are pretty similar. Halsley's played less, but he's been just about as productive and effective in his playing time as Sam Bradford. Matter of fact, in the opener against North Texas, Halsley off the bench went 4 out of 5 for 40 yards. He threw a 61-yard touchdown pass against Miami. They feel very good about him and the third quarterback, Keith Nickel.
Well, again, it's the depth. And I did Joey's spring game 2 years ago when he was competing with Rhett Bomar for the starting position. I was impressed with him then. And anytime you have depth at that position, it certainly helps. And I like the fact what Coach is doing right now is he's keeping the starting offensive line in the ball game. You see Bradford right there. Again, throwing people open in anticipation, throwing to spots as opposed to throwing to men, and trusting that his arm and his receivers will make the play for him.
Bradford went 16 out of 22 for 244, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Statistically, that's a bad night for him. Dropped his percentage a little bit. He was at 80% for the year, and it's a little bit under his average yards per game. He came in averaging 274. Halsley after the good fake has Joe John Finley, the tight end. Senior from Arlington, Texas. Tackled by Steve Craver, 24 yards, first down, and like Bradford, Halsley right on target.
I like the fact, too, that Oklahoma's running their offense. It's not the Sooners' job to stop the Sooners. And he's going to throw the ball. And maybe they're going for their average. I don't know. But they're making a statement on national television tonight for the #1 position in college football.
Well, a touchdown, the extra point, they'll actually improve on that average. They're just about at their total offense number. Haven't allowed a sack tonight. Moses Madu remains the tailback. And takes the handoff from Halsley. He runs hard. Now he's at least their 4th running back. And he's productive. He rushed for 87 yards in that win against North Texas on just 9 attempts. That was an 11-yard gain here for Madu.
Again, and he's productive. 1 is because he's a talented football player. 2, you still have that massive offensive line in there clearing the way. And the Tulsa kids are giving it their all. They're playing their hearts out. It's just they don't have anything left in the tank, Sean. And they don't have the depth that Oklahoma has. They're playing at a different speed, Sooners.
Madu. That was easy. Touchdown, Oklahoma. They're right on their average and about to surpass it. And Farley kicks the extra point. It'll be 62. My goodness, they scored at least 51 in every game. Bradford's one of those guys who's so good at everything. Scratch golfer. They told us he shot 63 on a local course this summer. He was an all-state basketball player, averaged about 18 points per game. Was being recruited in basketball as well.
Well, I like his release, and I gotta see that 63 or see that course. That's pretty good.
He did well in the windmill hole and in the clown's nose. And of course, if you're a Sooner fan, you're always looking ahead to the battle with Texas in Dallas. That's on October 6th. They have one game in between at Colorado next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. Well, lots of teams early making their claim for number one. I'll let you go first. How do you see it right now, the top five?
After watching the performance against Nebraska, I still have USC number one. After watching the film and preparing for this game this morning, I put Oklahoma number 2, defending national champion, Florida 3, LSU 4, with West Virginia sneaking up there at 5. But I really do think, Sean, with those top 4, you can mix and match them any way you want, and you would be solid in however you have them rated.
Good. So you're not going to give me grief for my picks? Florida.
No, I don't.
The defending national
Absolutely.
champs. You know, it's kind of like boxing. Until someone takes the title away, especially when you're a team like Florida with a lot of talent back. I think they're better than last year at the most important position, quarterback. I'd rather have Tim Tebow than Chris Leak. And, you know, I've had Oklahoma. I thought coming back out of last year that USC was going to be the most talented team this year, and they might be. But this is almost overwhelming. You keep looking, you know, is there any weak link? Are you the weakest link? And you can't find the weakest link.
No,
they don't have one.
No, and it's all because they found their quarterback. And I think they're even a little bit surprised. They knew that Sam Bradford would grow into the position, but I think they're a little surprised of how quickly he's grown. And just going to get better and better as the season progresses.
Yeah, he's not a question mark or a concern anymore. He's a strength. I mean, and there's nothing fluky about the way he's playing quarterback. And, you know, a redshirt freshman can be enormously productive. All you do is go back to last year and what Colt McCoy did for Texas. Speaking of McCoy, the matchup approaches. For a while, Oklahoma was dominating the rivalry. Stoops against Mac Brown, but Texas with a couple of wins make those fans happier. Colorado next week. But, you know, when you look at that schedule, you know, they get past Texas. You know, who's going to beat them? I think at Texas Tech will be a tough game, but the Big 12 is not real strong. We saw Oklahoma State last Friday night, and they were most unimpressive. Iowa State certainly way down. A&M looked horrible last night against Miami.
We were talking about that in between our sets of curls and crunches today about how impressive Miami looked last night. Well, and that's a statement for Miami, but is that a statement for Oklahoma on how good they are? They dropped 51 on Miami, which the strength of the Hurricanes down there was their defense.
Johnson still at quarterback. Throws short. And an immediate tackle made. Reggie Smith is still on the field. Cameron Clemens made the catch. You surprised Reggie's still in there? 5 minutes to go, under 5 minutes to go, and now he comes out of the game. I wonder if he hurt his hand a little bit or if he's just upset that he's coming out.
He might be. He wants to finish the game, but I'm looking down there and the whole starting defense is still in there, including Lofton and Reynolds. And the defense line doesn't matter. They play 9 anyway, so it's just throwing another big body in there. They play all their guys up front.
Well, these coaches know with a system such as it is, you almost have to try to pile it on when you can. Certainly run the risk of injury. Johnson stripped of the ball. I believe he got it back. DeMarcus Granger's been big. He's big all the time, but he's been big in terms of his play here in the second half. They credited him with a sack, and that's the 6th of the night for OU.
And Stephen Coleman flushed Johnson up into the pocket for Granger with cleanup duty. But again, you look at the size and the guy's ability to get off the ball, and the key to Oklahoma's defensive line play, I'm going to say it again, when you can play 9 and bring speed and fresh bodies at you, you really don't have much of a chance.
Paul Jurado Jr. from Chino, California to punt. They don't have Reggie Smith back there this time. Dominic Franks, who watched it bounce out of bounds in Tulsa territory at the 47. 38-yard punt. College football on ESPN in prime time tomorrow night, 7:45 Eastern time. What a matchup. Georgia and Alabama. What a game John Parker Wilson had against Arkansas. Threw for 327, led them back 4 touchdowns. And they're fired up. They were fired up when they got Nick Saban there, and he's already delivering for them. 3-0 as they're in the top 25 for the first time since 2005.
SEC on the road. That's going to be a great ball game, excitable. A lot of popping in that game tomorrow night. Arkansas, Kentucky.
Who do you like in that Alabama-Georgia game?
I like Alabama. Alabama at home, and Coach Saban has not only the fans believing, but I think he has his kids believing. And again, you talk about getting production from offensive players. You got a young running back making plays for them. You got the quarterback making plays all over the place, receivers stepping up. The only question I have about Alabama, and Coach Saban will get this together, is their rushing defense. But again, when you have Darren McFadden and Felix Jones running at you, they can make anybody look a little bit susceptible on the defensive side of the ball.
Keith Nickel, the quarterback, the third-string quarterback, part of that three-way competition for the starting job. Moses Ledoux carries. Nickel is a true freshman from Lowell, Michigan, appearing in his third game. How about those numbers in high school?
Well, that's a product of the spread offenses. And teams are throwing what you're seeing, like what Tulsa runs. You're seeing a lot of high school teams install those offenses, and guys are just throwing the ball. Pretty soon, it's going to come full circle, though. They'll be back to two backs and running the power game.
Carries for little or no gain, and here's Joe.
Sean, I'll be at that Georgia-Alabama game tomorrow, broadcasting for ESPN Radio. And it's an interesting matchup with two young quarterbacks. You know, the Georgia quarterback, Matthew Stafford, told me he didn't feel as prepared as he should have been in a loss to South Carolina a couple of weeks ago. So he's been staying up late every night this week with a Nick Saban DVD. It shows all the different multiple schemes and blitz packages that Alabama has installed.
That's what he's going to use. And Coach Saban, obviously, he can't get as detailed as he was with the NFL, but certainly he's a defensive-minded coach and has been very successful coaching at the collegiate level. And he'll get those kids playing hard, as he did at LSU, and he'll do that at Alabama. The defense will be stout by the time it's all said and done.
Mike Knoll to punt. They have two punters. We've seen Michael Cohen tonight. He handles the longer ones, and when they're looking for a shorter kick, they put Mike Knoll in there. Junior college transfer out of Scottsdale Community College in Arizona. You know the nickname of Scottsdale Community College?
The Cactuses.
One of my favorite nicknames in sports. I learned this at the College World Series this year. They have a very good baseball program there, too. The Fighting Artichokes.
Interesting.
From Scottsdale Community College. You're a choke.
Is that a fruit or a vegetable?
I don't know.
It's fighting, whatever it is.
From the Fighting Artichokes. When I mentioned it during the College World Series. I'd like a hat this time around, please. Bald guys like hats.
And one for his partner.
37-yard punt by Knoll. The former choke did not choke there. 26 seconds to go. Disappointing result for Tulsa, but they are still picked to have a good year in Conference USA in the preseason poll. Picked to finish second in the West Division behind Houston. And a very good team coached by Art Briles. Another one, I think, of the coaches around the country does a great job and doesn't get very much attention for it.
Yeah, there are a lot of them out there. And you look, they have UAB coming here next week, and chance to bounce back. They'll put this one to bed, learn from it, and get ready for conference play.
And four straight convincing wins for Oklahoma. Flag thrown as David Johnson threw one deep. The flag thrown in the secondary. Lindy Holmes was back there in coverage.
Sideline warning on Tulsa.
Oh. Better behave for the last 19 seconds down there, boys.
I see the get him back coach down there. Getting him back.
Yeah, he did a great job for 59 minutes and 41 seconds. A little lack of sideline discipline there at the end. Not a lot of room on the sideline here. Chapman Stadium. Looking forward to coming back next year. Couple of suggestions for them. Air conditioning would be good, and a men's room. But not necessarily in that order. Oklahoma 4-0, and with an exclamation point. They rout their in-state rivals
Solid performance by Sam Bradford and big stats just about everywhere you look for the Sooners tonight. They put 62 up, 62-21 the final. The Contender coming up next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now for Chris Spielman, Joe Shad, and our crew, Sean McDonough saying good night from Tulsa, Oklahoma.